So I mean, we had Rihanna on the podcast like what was it, a week or two ago? I don't know. Time's just
Yeah.
flying for me. Um, yeah, this time we're just doing a separate thing. Hando's doing his own thing. We're just doing a little tank talk. Is just the blood caked buds, just hanging out, basically talking
Pretty much.
tanks.
Oh yeah, and we're getting into it today. That's for sure.
We're getting into it. There's gonna be stuff.
Oh
So
yeah,
much
I
stuff.
was. Yeah, I was very sad for Handel last time because we
Yeah.
were going off and ranting tanks, and he was just sitting off in the corner, and we gotta spare him for this one. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll check in and say hi, but today it's just the blood cake buds.
Just the blood cakes buds. All right. So I mean, I think we gotta start with haste first, right? Like
You
that's
know
what
what?
everybody's talking about.
Yeah. So before we get into anything,
Sure.
I want to have a little bit of a disclaimer. That while we are going to be talking a lot about today how to optimize your blood decay and what routes to go down and how to bring the most utility and utilize your full toolkit to bring the most amount of you know oomph to your raid. There is a difference between being a 13 out of 13 heroic pumper who are very comfortable in their class and been playing the spec for 20 years, compared to someone who is maybe a bit of a dad gamer who is jumping in with not as much knowledge and ability to optimize their rotation. So, with that in mind, some things maybe take with a grain of salt. I think being introspective with your own knowledge and knowing where you stand in terms of skill level is probably pretty important when listening to this conversation as well. So keep that in mind. And I'm sure we'll go over some things today where we give a little bit of a disclaimer like, hey, maybe don't go crushing weight or don't go solace for your trinkets if you're still progging and it's dying because you don't have enough tankiness or because your healers are just Papegas.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Tailor all this stuff to your specific situation, whatever you got going on. Um, Rihanna and I, we both cleared these raids multiple times at this point.
Many times.
I mean, I've been clearing it on 3 blood decays for a few weeks now. I mean, one of them day one and then multiple others like for weeks.
Yeah.
Just got a full clear on my prop alley. So that's kind of the level
Yeah.
we're coming
Nice.
from. And I know Rihanna, I think you were like week 2 clear or
Yeah, we're week two,
yeah.
so we did a bit
So
of a dad guild.
I mean, yeah, like I would call it a dad guild, but yeah, I mean, multiple, full clears though. Like you've seen the raids, you're pretty comfortable with like the damage intake and everything. You know what to
Oh
expect.
yeah, yeah.
All
All
right,
right.
yeah,
So haste.
haste.
Yeah. So definitely this is the topic that I've seen been brought up the most around the internet lately. You know, you have the Haktua going on, and then you have the haste build. Those are the two things we're talking about here on the internet right now. And
On the entire internet. I didn't realize it was like spanning the entire internet at this point.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, all right.
And if you've been perusing the Blood DK Discord, it's impossible to talk about anything without getting bombarded about haste, either if it's sarcastic or if it's genuine curiosity. So let's get into it. I want to hear maybe a little bit about what just give us the rundown a little bit about why haste is as good as you think it is. And if you, after this little period of since the video release, if you have any type of amendments you would like to make to your original thoughts, or if it's still the same. So I think
Sure.
let's have you take it away for a little bit here.
Yeah, absolutely. So a big part of this is healing, right? That's a big component of like the Haste conversation.
Yeah.
So one thing first, I just want to kind of show in the sim how it overvalues mastery right now, because that's the main stat you're comparing Haste and Mass to, right?
Mhm.
So, are you aware of a bug with this sim that makes minimum DSs heal for way more than they should?
I've not looked into that. No, I think
Okay,
I'm looking much more at um, the amount of death strikes as opposed to the value from the death strikes, because I feel like
sure,
in Sims it's very unreliable from a like compared to a rating environment.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as like minimum death strikes go, I mean, how would you characterize that? Like how frequently you get minimum death strikes compared to the higher ones? So the 7%, minimum DS versus
Mm.
the 20% damage in the last 5 seconds.
Oh, I would not say that min DSs are that common in 25-man heroic rating.
Really?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm maybe uh looking too much at the damage meter compared to the healing tracker, but I feel like at least during progression, when I was tracking the blood shield a lot more heavily, I feel like I was getting a lot more value from the damage, if the 5% damage or 5-second damage window compared to the blood shield window for sure, or
Okay.
the minimum DS
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, this is in 370 plus eye level gear now.
Right, right,
What I'm seeing in my raids, it really depends on the boss fight. Obviously, like there's significantly different damage happening in different boss
yeah.
fights, but I'm seeing anywhere from like on the very low ends, like something like Neff, maybe like 20 to 30% min DS. But then
Mm.
on the high end, a fight like Alakir, where I mean, currently my guild, I'm just tanking ads on that fight, so I'm not taking a lot of damage.
Oh,
Because our other tank, he's just he only tanks. He has no like DPS off spec. So on a fight like that, I'm seeing like 80 plus percent minimum DS. But in general, it's falling, 50%, maybe a little bit more. So it's a really
mm.
significant number of like my total death strikes are just these minimum DSs.
Yeah, 50% I think is about something equivalent that I could see as well. Maybe slightly lower overall for me, but yeah, around that
Mhm.
number. Seems right.
Yeah, it also depends like if you're doing any timing. So if you're like just sending every single DS, which in
Mhm.
general, that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm almost never like, pausing, to wait for a timing on DS or anything like that.
Not past
So
progression, no, no.
yeah, so for me, like a lot of these DSs getting sent, they're just minimum. They're not lined up with damage intake or anything.
Yeah.
So pretty significant number that are minimum. So in the sim, like I was curious because a huge portion of my DSs are going to be for the minimum value. So I wanted to first check there because I was noticing like the HPS numbers on the sim weren't quite like lining up with what I was experiencing.
Mhm.
Obviously, the HPS numbers in the sim, those are including overhealing. So, you have to take that into account. Like they're probably just never gonna like line up the HPS values because in a real raid you are gonna have overhealing. So
Oh yeah.
um yeah, so just to like do a quick test on like, make sure minimum DS is working correctly. So I just set like the boss damage to 1, just guarantee like we're getting a min DS. There's nothing else happening. So we since I'm streaming, it's taken like forever.
Mhm.
Too much CPU usage right now. So you throw that in. We got our 50K. So we're gonna go over to results. We want to see like what's actually going on with these DSs. So go over to healing. We're gonna look at okay. So for a minimum DS, average cast 21,000. That's pretty high. That's not realistic. So yeah, what's going on with that? because our expected, I mean, you're probably aware, it depends on your stam, obviously, but
Yep.
generally it's going to be somewhere, 14,000 to 15,000, somewhere in that range will be your min
Yeah.
DS. So when you see this number, 21,000, that should be sending up some red flags. So let's go into the log. Let's see what's actually going on with this. One thing I found too, that if you search Death Strike up here, you're not actually going to find the thing we want to find here. So we're going to scroll down. And let's see. I might have gone past it. The text is small for me right now. Yeah, so here, also one weird thing I found was so like over here, fully buffed, 196k HP. This is like a full stam setup basically. So
Yeah.
this is pretty low. So that was also weird to me because I know like generally I'll be 209, 208k, something like that, and like a full stam setup. So
Yeah.
that was a little bit weird too. I think it's just because the sim is applying Veteran of the Third War after combat starts, or some buff of some sort. I think is being applied after combat starts
Okay. Yeah.
because you can see here. So I've taken essentially no damage in this sim already, right? Because I'm fighting a boss that does 1 damage. So here you see I get healed by my DS. I've not really taken damage in this fight. I get healed from 196k to 209k. So I'm starting the fight like lower HP. This was just kind of a weird thing. It's not like super consequential, but I just kind of noticed that because I was originally like doing my 7% off of this, and I was like, okay, it's not really lining up. But yeah, so we're gonna look at this. So here, this is our DS heal here. So 14,633. That's our expected value. That's a 7% min DS right there. But then after caster mods, 21,218. So what it's doing is it's applying the improved Death Strike talent, which does not apply to a min DS.
Yeah.
Anybody who's not aware of this, you can test this in 2 seconds. Go hit a dummy in org. So basically, the sim is amplifying min DS by 45% when it shouldn't. Obviously, that's going to make mastery look a lot better because the DS heal is then going to get, multiplied by whatever your mastery is. So, like, like the higher a DS heal is, like the better like mass is going to be, right? So that's pretty bad. I mean, that kind of just like makes you unable to like really use sim HPS results right now. I'm sure they're gonna fix this at some point because like it's a very like fundamental part of how like DS works is that DS as a talent does not affect min DS, and like we talked about, a significant portion of your DSs are min DSs, so a significant amount of your DSs on the sim are healing for way more than they should.
Yep.
So yeah, that was kind of my first thing is like at the moment we can't really, test mass versus haste on the sim for HPS because of this. Like this is such a fundamental like flaw in the sim right now that just makes DK HPS simming unreliable.
Yeah, it's obviously worth keeping in mind as well that the the buggy sims, the min DSs being higher also benefits the haste build in the HPS portion, but it's just for because a lot of the the benefit in the healing comes from the blood shield and not necessarily the death strike itself. It skews the results a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, so like with mastery, like the higher your DS, the better like mastery is. It like pulls away from haste in terms of like HPS. So if your minimum is already super amplified, it's just gonna make mastery look way better versus haste than it actually is. Also, kind of minor but relevant. It doesn't track Rune of the Fallen Crusader healing at all, which obviously Haste will increase your Rune of the Fallen Crusader healing. That is a very minor amount, but just another thing that's not really being tracked correctly here. So once these get fixed, I'm really interested to like compare Haste versus Mess. But since the sim does not work for, comparing these two things right now, all we really have to go off is logs, which isn't going to be perfect. There's changes week to week. Kill times change, gear changes, stats change, strats change, whatever. Like we're using different strats like this week than we used last week. So so
it's hard getting a accurate read on the healing and damage intake when you have Archimedes stunned for 20 seconds at a time.
Exactly. Yes. Oh my god, dude. Yeah, looking at like the HPS numbers on Attributes, I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy like never hits me. Like, I think I did like 4K HPS or something because I just never take damage.
Yeah. I think logs right now are also a very very inaccurate tool to look at the values that we get from mastery versus haste, because like you said, there's so many variables in a log, and the value from logs comes when you have thousands of results to look at, which is why logs, or I mean why sims generally are so good as such a good tool to compare if something is good or not. But when you have so many variables, not only kill times, strats, am I tanking magma for the entire time this week, or am I not? That's going to hugely affect obviously your damage intake, your healing, and whatnot. But also just the innate variability you have in your Death Strike healing due to the damage taken portion. You can have the exact same fight with exact same kill times, but have 3k higher HPS for no particular reason, just because of the way that the damage intake lined up and your Death Strike usage happening to be perfect for that reason that week. Getting more procs, how active your healers are, are they sleeping during progression, or is the Resto Shaman pumping too many lightning bolts into the boss? Comparing 1 week to 1 week is gonna give you such different results. But there still are very important information in the logs to look at when we try to break down the haste versus mastery conversation and what's best. So what have you found in the logs that convince you that the haste build is superior?
Yeah, so I mean, it's something we've talked about before, is just kind of these value trades, right? So with mastery as a stat, all it does is increase your healing. Haste as a stat increases your healing, increases your damage. So for mastery to be desirable, it needs to be way better at what it does than the same effect you get from haste. Like if haste healing and mastery healing are similar, why would you ever go mastery? Like you just get a lot of free damage going haste. So to me, it's just like the classic value trade. It's like mastery, maybe you get a little bit more healing, but it is not consequential healing, which I do have another thing I want to go into with that too. So you mentioned this a little bit in your why tank damage matters video, which I loved. That was great. And in that video, you showed like the healing breakdown for like a blood DK. So this is for Heroic Nefarian, hardest probably hitting boss this phase. So you see, as a blood DK, I did 56.5% of the healing I received. The rest of my healing, I mean, is pretty small percents, but we got like Beacon of Light. This is just, passive healing. It's going to happen regardless of whatever I do. I've got HOTS rolling on me. This is just happening.
They're gonna be there.
They're gonna be there. I'm getting some atonement healing. There is an argument that like I could get heal myself more so that the atonement healing goes to other people more. But
Opportunity cost
this
is the
is
type of thing. Yeah.
it's a very small percent of the healing I'm receiving.
Yeah.
And then we have like Earth Shield, Riptide. There's very few like direct cast heals being cast on Bloody K's ever, which
Mhm.
is something I don't think a lot of people realize. Like the typical Blood DK healing breakdown is like you do 50 to 60% of your own healing, and then you
Mhm.
get beacon heals, you get some hots, you get some atonement healing, and
Yeah.
then occasionally you get a direct heal here and there. When I see people like talk about Blood DK like healing received, it seems like they haven't really looked at this because like
Mhm.
they're talking about like, oh, like man, if you add 10% more mastery, you could drop a healer. And I'm like,
Right.
have,
No.
have, have
Yeah.
you looked at like our healing breakdown here? Like there's almost never like direct heals cast on us. Like how are we dropping a healer here?
I absolutely hate the dropping a healer argument because it's the wrong expansion for that. There's no way that even if you have 1,000% mastery, that you would ever drop a healer because of the tank damage.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Blood DK is just so self-sustaining is actually insane. Like, when I point this out to people, like, their minds like explode. Like,
Mhm.
they're like, holy shit, how are Blood DKs not getting nerfed? Like, they do 50 to
Well,
60% of their own healing.
yeah,
Um,
that's another conversation.
right. Yeah, so I mean, part of this, bringing it back to like the mastery haste stuff,
Yeah.
is that look at this overhealing. So keep in mind, this is all healing that's happening regardless. This is just happening. Like there's no like, oh, if he has a 10% more mastery, we don't need to use that heal on him.
Well,
This is all healing that's already happening. A lot of what the extra mastery is gonna do is just gonna push more of this passive healing into overhealing. It's not like creating like new healing that I don't think it's very relevant personally
mm,
because like it's really just pushing healing that already exists on you and is just gonna exist on you regardless into being overhealing.
yeah.
So to me, it is very low value to like add mastery for that reason too.
I think it's gonna depend on how difficult the content is to you. Um, I mean, I feel like the reason why this has kind of blown up, if you will, in the DK community, where a lot of people are very against the sentiment that you have, is perhaps because the argument is stated as such that haste is better than mastery. And when you think in the terms of haste is better than mastery, then the perceived argument is that, okay, so if I want to be the best DK I can be and get the most healing I can and reduce all the stress from the healers, then haste is the best option, which I don't personally think it is. We don't really have the conclusive arguments or the conclusive data to back up it one way or another. But I think if you want to go for complete defensiveness, then you're still better off going mastery. Uh, that's just the when I've been looking at the data, that's kind of the route that I um, fall down. That's a better giving you a better overall healing and defensiveness. But there is absolutely zero need to go that far deep into defensiveness, and the trade-offs that you're making for that is huge, as we could see like by the breakdown. The hardest hitting boss in the game, 25-minute heroic rating, you barely taking any healing whatsoever. So why not convert some of that into a more useful stat that's still giving you some healing, a pretty decent amount of healing as well, because you do get a few extra death strikes every fight, which is very valuable. Also smooths out the damage intake a little bit, while also giving you huge gains in the offensive section. I think for some reasons we'll talk about a little bit later, and some talent choices and whatnot. Um, while also making your class a hell of a lot more fun to play. I think that's a factor that people have been sleeping on. Just being able to spam your buttons
Definitely.
harder is a lot more fun than waiting for waiting with empty globals.
Yeah, the just sitting around waiting for runes to come up play style, man.
Yeah.
There's no chance I could ever play an unhasted DK ever again. It's just it is not it.
It ain't it.
But
It ain't it.
yeah, yeah, but I mean, I am really interested. Like I originally had built my DK, as just pure healing. Like I went into week
Yeah.
one of raids, 172% mastery. And like I super overdid it.
Yeah.
And because when I was looking at the sim, it was like, oh, like the HPS looked like it was crazy. Like I was looking
Yeah.
at the trades I was making, I was like, okay, I could gain 1,000 DPS or 2,000 HPS and a hard hitting boss fight like Nefarian, and
Mhm.
fights like that. Week one, I'm trying to really optimize like for that kind of thing.
For good reason. Yeah.
But then I was just finding that like the HPS, like the sim was telling me wasn't really matching, and then obviously with the min DS being significantly amplified on the sim, that was a really big part of it.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, I mean, I want to see what this looks like once they can fix that stuff, because
Mhm.
it seems like just napkin math I've done. It seems like Haste should be like pretty much identical when you factor in like Fallen Crusader, Bloodworms, all that stuff. On
Right.
top of like DS,
Yeah.
it should be like pretty much identical when you're talking min DSs.
Right.
As far as HPS goes.
Mhm.
So with that being like such a significant portion of the DSs, I feel like the gain from mass is just so minimal. And then like you fact like just if the baseline is that they start at basically the same HPS and then mass gets a little bit better as you take more damage, but then
Mhm.
that mass also pushes a lot of the passive healing you're already receiving into being overhealing. I
Yeah.
just don't see it as like a good value at all.
I think it also depends on the content that we're doing. Like right now, in phase one, I think mastery has very limited value. I think as long as you have an amount that you're comfortable with, then there's no reason to push up for the high, like 170, 200% values. There's absolutely no need for that.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, come Firelands, and you go into Firelands with phase one gear, and there are some proper tank busters in there. Perhaps it will get more value. Um, but right now, I think like you said, for most people, especially if you're a little bit more well versed with the spec, because another thing to keep in mind as well is that haste gains value the better you are at your class. Um, because you need to optimize your rotation a little bit better in order to utilize the tools that you're given with being able to get more globals off within your rune cycle.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, if you're not using your runes, like
yeah,
you lose the value, right?
it can go crit if you want it. Then
Yeah. Speaking of crit, you've been parsing with that summer buff. I saw that vid,
you
the
gotta
three
you
three
gotta go
percent
back
crit.
for the 3% crit.
Hmm.
Yeah, um, that's a big one. That's a big one. When you have 0.8% baseline crit, then
It's
getting 3%
it's
is
it's
huge.
decent. It's not bad. Yeah, yeah. Literally, like doubles my crit, like raid buffed. Like you get some from Horn and I mean I guess self
And you
buffed.
get yeah, and then you get 5% crit
Um.
from
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
LSJman or whatever you have. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Doubles my baseline crit before the shaman.
yeah.
Um.
Gives huge value to the strength meta gem if you're running that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was looking at that today. It was like I think it was like 200 DPS gain or something over the Sam one. I
Yeah,
was like, I don't know if
yeah.
that's
I've
like
been
really a value trade there.
I've been making the same observations in my sims, and I've been looking at it because I got another when I rated this Wednesday. I got a 100 on Alakir,
I saw
and
that. I meant to congratulate you on that. Gotcha.
no, don't,
Wait,
because I
what?
lost it.
Oh
Yes,
no,
because
dude, what happened?
a DK with full strength gems, strength meta, uh, heroic heart of rage, crushing weights, and who got an unholy frenzy from an unholy DK, snatched it.
What? Oh my
So I'm
god.
like, okay, I need to get a strength meta gem in here. I need to do some adjustments. But what am I doing with a stamina shoulder enchant still?
Oh man, dude. Yeah, the some of them are getting pretty crazy. That's not really. I try not to take it that far. I always go for like the balanced approach where like I'm trying to maximize my damage but not get like too crazy, you know?
Yeah,
Um
I think it's a bit cringe doing the whole like I'm all for utilizing your full range of the class and providing the most value that you can. But then when you start going into territory where like asking people to give up some benefit for the raid in order to increase your
mhm.
numbers, then that's when you fall into the bit of a cringe territory.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for some people that's fun though. Like
Mhm.
maybe if you're in a guild where everybody like takes turns, like, you know, it's your week to parse, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's totally fine. It's a game at the end of the day. But
Hmm.
personally, with the way I approach it, I try to just bring like the most value I can to my raid and, you know, do the most damage I can, the most healing I can, don't not die, you know, obviously as a
Pretty
tank.
big one. Pretty big one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty up there. Generally that goes hand in hand with doing lots of healing and damage, but yeah,
Usually.
so I mean that's just kind of the way I approach it. Like I'm I've don't usually get hundreds because of that. I generally just
Mhm.
end up with like 99s. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my goal. Just get plenty of 99s and you know, try not to grieve my raid.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of not just griefing the raid, are you? Because I've been seeing a lot of your logs where you're still running double stamina trinket. You're still on that line of thought, or you're looking to swap over maybe one or two?
So part of that is just because I'm not you were probably looking at my main DK, which actually just
Hmm.
doesn't have a single DPS trinket at all. Like not a every single time I saw a Solace drop, I had like a guilty with me that needed it. And you know, like I just haven't gotten like a crushing weight. Heart that one's, you know, pretty easy to get because the DPS don't really want it, but Heart
Yeah.
of Rage, they all want that one. So
Hmm.
I haven't gotten that one either. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean I want to on some fights use some damage trinkets, but just
Just can't.
don't even have them on that DK.
Time to
But
add in a segment in the stream of doing the daily 12-year heroic, doing a little
yeah,
bit of a gamba on
yeah, yeah.
will it drop today?
I've been meaning to do that. Just queue up every day and try to get it, but too much going on. I've been doing I don't know if
Yeah,
you've seen it at all, but doing this like feral druid crazy UI challenge. And
yeah.
it's getting ridiculous.
It's given me some ideas for how to optimize my UI for sure.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah. I mean, once it's complete, I'll have the whole thing available for download.
Oh,
Uh,
perfect, perfect. I've been
ver-
waiting for the Wago link.
soon. I'm gonna get that. I think they give you like a yellow name on Wago once you like get enough downloads or whatever. You become like a MVP, like WeakAuras maker. Yeah. I'll get the yellow name for sure.
Right away for sure.
For anybody who hasn't seen it at all, basically, as people like sub and donate things like that, they can increase or decrease the size of anything on my UI. So currently, details takes up half my screen. I have like my feral druid like weak aura, just like my DK one, where it's kind of like central screen with all my abilities and everything. That's now 2,000 wide, so it just looks like a screen glitch when you look at it. we've got a huge rage bar, a huge health bar. The party frames are in the worst possible spot. They like cover like directly in front of my character, so I can't see anything. The nameplates are super thin but super long, so like super tall. So, and they have a very tiny clickable area. So the nameplates are huge, but I
Oh no.
can't click like any part of them. So,
My
and
favorite is the cast
yes,
the icon just covers the entire screen.
yes. Also, yeah, the anytime a spell gets cast, the icon scales with the nameplate size, which is very tall. So basically the spell icon covers the whole screen. So it's been super fun, super interesting, but the main reason for it was I was trying to fundraise to get a new computer because my current computer, like while I'm streaming, I've been getting like 5 to 15 FPS on a lot of the like
Mm,
25-man bosses, and it
yeah.
feels pretty bad, rating with like single digit FPS on these fights. But
Yeah, that's I was kind of in a similar position where I had a very old computer, but I always felt like it was doing fine for what I was doing when I was rating, like TBC and stuff like that when the requirements weren't too tough. And then I just found myself getting such low FPS in towards the end of the ICC, and I was like, all right, it's just time to get an upgrade. And oh my god, what a difference it was! I'm like kicking myself why I
yeah,
didn't upgrade sooner.
I can imagine, dude. Yeah, I should be getting mine next week. Had a ton of super generous people help out, so
Yeah,
that was
congrats on reaching
awesome.
your goal.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're still working on the druid though.
Mm,
That challenge is officially complete once I've fully pugged every heroic through RDF. So I like
okay.
and I've heard stories of like tanks getting kicked a lot in RDF, and given that I won't be able to see any part of my screen probably by the time I hit 85, I might get kicked from some heroics. We'll see what happens.
I think that you could probably turn off the monitor and be better than half of the puck tanks out there. So
It's definitely possible. Like it's kind of weird like how easy it is to actually still play when you can't see or like do anything. Like it's a little bit eye-opening. Like
mm,
I'm going through these dungeons, like I'm going through Wrath right now. So it's,
mm,
Ukar Keep, Nexus, all that stuff. I'm
yeah,
just going through there like I could do all these like pulls in my sleep. I feel like, I don't need to actually see anything, but
mm,
and I mean, when we get to the Cata stuff, I think it'll be the same, but
yeah.
you never know.
Did you follow? Did you follow up the platform in Nexus at any point, or?
I did not. And the craziest thing is every single time I've run Nexus, 1 to 2 people in my group fall off. And they can see their screen. Like it doesn't make any sense. I'm like playing, not even able to see anything. And they're just falling off left and right every
Oh man,
time.
Pug life, Pug life. I
Pug
was actually
left.
interested in kind of bringing the subject back. Great
Yeah.
conversation, but bringing the subject back to the
Yeah.
haste,
Sure
mass
thing.
build, whatever. I'm interested. I don't know if you have much experience with it, but I remember I think you were talking a little bit about you had some at least 10-man experience. So that's a question that I've been getting as well. Like, how would you like to optimize your haze versus mastery and whatnot when you go from a 10 or a 25 to a 10-man um, scenario where the healing breakdown isn't necessarily the same and the damaging profile is not necessarily the same as well? What your recommendations would be there?
Yeah, sure. So I'm 13 out of 13 heroic on the 10-man blood DK. Trying to remember. It's I think it's cleared twice now.
Mm.
Um Actually, we gotta go in and kill Sinestro again, I think, this week. I think that's what we had left. But other than that, cleared it twice. Um, I've found Haste to be even better on 10 man because like you're taking way less damage from a lot of the bosses. So I need to look at it. Right now, it feels like I'm getting way more min DSs, but I need to check the logs to verify that. But
You should be, yeah.
yeah. Um, but just going in there with like all the haste, it feels awesome. Like I don't think there's been a single time I feel like I'm ever at risk of dying with, 100% mastery, like full haste build. It
Yeah.
feels safer on 10 man than it does on 25 for sure, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't feel any type of danger when I'm in there tanking on my Prot warrior. So I can imagine being,
Yeah.
you could probably go full crit on the DK and be fine with that as well. Um, but of course, there are people that maybe aren't in the same type of position that we are when it comes to the um, the people that we raid with and stuff like that, and may struggle a little bit more than others. But yeah, I think also the haste is good value in 10 man. Um, Especially because your portion of the damage matters more in the 10 man as well than in the 25 man. So it's good to weigh that out for sure.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. That's a great point. So like in our 10 man, I'm like frequently competing for like number one overall damage.
Mm.
So anything you can do to like up your damage as a tank in 10 man, it is just so important because a tank that does good damage in 10 man versus one that does bad damage in 10 man, that's like bringing half an extra DPS, three quarters of an extra DPS. Like
Yeah.
you're essentially bringing more players than you're allowed to bring, like if you're playing your tank correctly. So yeah, your wide tank damage matters video, like it definitely matters for 25, but 10 man, I would say it's essential. Like
Yeah.
the difference between a tank that does good damage and 10 man and one that does bad damage is just night and day.
Yep. Definitely can be the difference between a wipe and a kill sometimes. And then it doesn't matter how much overhealing you have.
Yeah. Um I mean, just like basically any fight where like your raid wipes at, 5%, whatever. If you're not doing a lot of damage as a tank, like that could just be a kill right there. If you're maximizing your damage, you're bringing that extra 8k 10k DPS that somebody that's parsing much lower than you isn't bringing.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. So moving the haste conversation from the defensive perspective, why is haste such a good stat offensively, other than just giving you more spells per minute? Um, I know that there's some quite nice interactions with haste and some of our talent trees and enchant stuff like that. But where do you come down on the value of haste offensively?
Yeah, so to me, after like hit cap and expertise soft cap,
Mm,
it seems to perform the best for just pure damage after those points. Um, I mean, you get faster white attacks, and we have what three different proc talents between like Crimson Scourge, uh, BCB, and Bloodworms. So you're getting those extra procs with Scent of Blood. You're getting more melee hits off that give you Scent of Blood, give you 10 runic power. That then turn into rune strikes. That then turn
yep,
into death strikes. So there's just this whole chain of events that just always everything leads to death strikes, basically.
yep.
Um, yeah, I think those are the main things. Is there anything else you were thinking of?
Well, obviously like you said, you get a lot of value from having more white attacks. Um, Scent of Blood is huge because especially if if there's more than one target, then you're getting so much value from that, and being able to offload those more quickly in order to refresh the buff is essential. You're getting so much runic power. Um, Bloodworms is another one that people don't necessarily think about, but haste actually gives you more raid healing because bloodworms do a significant amount of raid healing, and the damage they do is actually not insignificant either. If you look at your damage breakdown um, from bloodworms, they're usually responsible for about 2% of your overall damage, which is it's not bad. It's not bad. Um, and blood cake blades, BCB is a lot stronger than people think. And being able to amplify that damage with haste even more, even better. Another thing that people don't really talk about as well is that your raise dead scales extremely well with haste, and does a lot more damage when you have haste. And if we talk a little bit more about like parsing tips and stuff like that, things you can do to squeeze out a little bit extra damage, I got some tech that has been cooked up for
Ooh,
your ghouls and your army and whatnot. So maybe we'll get into that later.
absolutely.
Little teaser, something to dangle in front of the little carrot here, so you keep watching. um, and yes, so the ghoul scales very well with haste, and if a properly snapshotted ghoul can easily be responsible for like 3 to 4% of your overall damage, which is enormous if you can time it properly. Because I've been looking at some logs and people who just pop it willy-nilly, it can be like sub 1% damage. So
Yeah, I'm
uh,
looking at this random log here. I'm not sure when it's from, but 1% for my ghoul. I think this
yeah,
is before I started
you fudged up.
trying to let me yeah, I might have another one. Yeah. I've been trying to get better about the ghoul. That's like one of my weakest points right now is using the ghoul at the right time. So I'm
I
trying to
saw
improve on
that
that.
there was, after you posted your haste vid, the DK Discord was hard at work trying to find or breaking down all of your logs and
Oh yeah.
things that you could be doing better. And one of the points that
Damn.
was brought up
Can
was that
yeah,
you are
can
really bad at using your goal.
that's fair. That's one of the biggest things I'm trying to improve on right now. Can you get them to
Another thing you
write?
should,
Can you get them
I
to
think, try
write
to
the
improve.
like a list of all those things for me and just like fax it over to me, and I
Absolutely,
can just work on
absolutely.
all that shit.
That's a service that they should take money for. I'd pay.
Yeah, I would.
Well, I'll give you a little tip for free as well. I looked at some of the breakdowns that they were looking at as well, and I noticed that you have a pretty low amount of damage from your bombs and sappers. So having
Yeah,
a little bit of a
yeah,
weak aura to utilize some more of that free damage. Hey,
yeah.
why
I've been
not? Why
sleeping
not?
on that. Yeah, getting that. Actually, yeah, that is one thing I was kind of interested in. Are you using like I forget what the new one's called, Big Daddy or whatever? Do
Hey,
you use
daddy.
those ones at all? You know what I'm talking
I
about?
don't. Yeah, I don't,
Or you,
because I feel like I would just uh end up screwing myself over more than I would get
okay,
benefit from them.
fair enough.
You can get value from them if you track um, your auto swing timer,
Hmm.
but if you don't, then you could end up just griefing yourself more than you get value from them. So I just end up throwing out sappers and cyanide bombs on off cooldown pretty much.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. What about you? Do you tinker around with the daddies or no?
No, I haven't really played with them at all yet. But yeah, I need to definitely need to saber more and stuff. I've just kind of been more focused on because it's like what 1,500 damage for a Serenite bomb is like pretty inconsequential. Obviously, it's free damage, so you take it, but um, it's just another thing to add in. So I'm just kind of going down a priority list of like things to improve on right now, and
Mm,
um, trying to focus more on snapshotting the ghoul. I feel like my opener is pretty good now with
mm.
army and everything, but yeah, trying to that's like the main thing I'm trying to improve on right now is just the ghoul and also potting before dancing rune weapon. I don't know why. I just
Yeah,
always like
yeah,
throw the dancing rune weapon and then I'm
same.
like, fuck, I have pot up. Why didn't I throw pot? And yeah, so those are the two big things for me. Making sure I pot before dancing rune weapon, like the late dancing rune weapon, obviously doing it pre-pull already, but uh the late dancing rune weapon and the better ghoul snapshotting. Those are two main things I'm trying to improve on.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely feel your pain on the strength potion there, the second spot.
It's just
Really bad about
like
that as well.
it's like half the time I pop Rude Weapon, and then my eyes go to the pot. I'm like, come on, I like go to the pot first, then the Rune Weapon.
Yeah. I'm also bad about the second ghoul. That's another one I
Yeah,
tend to overlook.
yeah,
The first
second
one I
cool.
feel like is very free for me now because I've incorporated into my like opener, but uh, uh, actually being maybe I should have a little WeakAura with a sound notification thing when it comes up cooldown or something like that. But I find myself rarely using the second ghoul, even though a lot of the fights are over 3 minutes.
Yeah, I with on the topic of like audio alerts and stuff, I
Mhm.
like just started getting into those in Cata. Is something I was
Oh,
like sleeping on forever. Like,
yeah.
because I was always listening to, I listen to music like the entire time I play. I'm never like not listening to music while I play.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, that's
so
that ain't me.
so yeah, I was always like, yeah, probably would like won't even hear them like over the music and stuff, but
Mm.
I just like pumped up the volume on them and like, goddamn, they like if you're using audio alerts for stuff, definitely do it. It just takes you to the next level.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually got a bit of a re. Um, so in classic up until maybe late ICC, now beginning of Cataclysm, I've been playing classic like from a bit more of a casual perspective, where it's like I want to. I'm playing classic. I want to relive the bit of the good old days. I don't want to optimize my UI too much, and I don't want to do that because I want to feel like I did back in the days. But now we're kind of getting to the stage where in the original time when I played the games, I did start to optimize my UI for performance and all of that, and the way I play the game currently as well is more catered towards the type of gameplay. So I'm like, okay, now it's time to get back into really optimizing the UI. And something that I did a lot when I was mythic rating in retail, and especially during progression, pushing for those early kills and stuff like that, was to utilize sound a lot, and especially sounds that stick out. So using making weak auras in order to be better at utilizing cooldowns, stuff like that, with a sound that's the DBM sound, you're never gonna be actually um, that's not going to give you any value whatsoever. But if you have a sound that sticks out a lot, that like a plop or whatever, that's instantly triggers a reaction, then you know right away. Okay, like my glove tinker. Now that I have a unused trinket that I use with my dancing room weapon, I I need to use my gloves outside of that window. So I need to be actively pressing it when I'm not in my dressing room open window. And I was so bad at using it. Started using a weak R that really sticks out, and now I'm using it off cooldown every single time, and I just can't have it up. I can't sit with it. I need to press it right away. So I think that's so valuable, um, having sounds with your cooldowns, especially things you're trying to improve with, on using them. And glows, that's another big one too.
yeah, a really simple one I just kind of have been using in DBM is for tank buster abilities. I just added like an audio countdown. I just
Mm.
use like the female voice for tank buster, and then for ads incoming, I just use the male voice, and that way I don't have to look at any like timer bar or anything. I just know like when
Mm.
I hear like that specific countdown, there's a tank buster coming. When I
Yep.
hear the other countdown, I know there's ads about to spawn. So that's just a really simple one that I've added, and it just it makes it pretty much impossible to miss. Like things like Mangle, like sometimes on Magma, like I would just like fall asleep on that fight because like for the first minute and a half, you're
Yeah.
just chilling there, like not doing anything. And I would just like basically fall asleep and then I'd be like, oh shit, it's Mangle, okay.
Yeah.
So like just adding like these audio alerts and then like on the flip side, like a fight that's like really chaotic or something, like maybe your eyes are diverted from your boss timers and stuff and you just
Mm.
hear that in your head or in your ears and you know exactly what's coming.
Yeah.
Like Neff Shadow Sparks have a countdown for that, and I don't even have to look at the bar.
Or one.
I just
Yeah.
go off the audio alert and I know when to move the ads.
Yeah. I think one important thing though is to remove bloat when it comes to sounds. Like, it's not gonna do you any good to have a WeakAuras that tells you everything. So, if you have like Foji or if you have a lot of the other WeakAuras packs, there'll usually be a lot of sound playing where it's like, cutters incoming, ads, breath,
Yeah.
move, stuff like that. And
Wait.
that's not,
Hold up. I'm gonna clip all that. I'm gonna add that to my my WeakAuras pack, the Riani voice pack.
you should. Uh, I can commission some voiceovers.
That's your next
Um,
line of work. I
yeah,
think it
there we
would
go.
sell really well. I know I would buy the pack for sure.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. Uh, but the problem with those type of voiceover things for everything is that they become white noise. You don't pay attention to it after you have heard it 1,000 times, which is why it's the same thing with the DBM. Like the pop, like bling. It's time for something to happen. That doesn't mean anything. It's just sound
Mhm.
right now. Might as well be music, but it's real terrible music. So having things that stand out and that actually mean something to you, that's the thing that's actually valuable. Just having something that's having a sound that plays or having voiceover mods for everything, it's not going to do anything. So if you're a tank and you have those type of things, then go in and remove the inconsequential sound effects. Like you don't need to know about cutters if you are main tanking Sinestra. You don't need to know about um, well, basically any mechanic really, unless it's something that is just focused on you as a tank, um, to reduce some of that clutter.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, especially with the Foji pack. Like, man,
Mm,
there's a lot of stuff in there you don't need. Like as a tank in particular.
yeah,
Oof. Like, I had to stop using it just because like my computer literally like can't even handle the rates to begin with. And you throw the Foji pack in, and that
let alone that. Yeah,
five FPS turns into 1 FPS. But
yeah,
um, like when I was using it though, I mean, I am probably deleting 70% of it
yeah,
right out the gate. I do find the nameplate things like super valuable in Foji though. Like
yeah,
it puts, on the nameplate cooldown on boss abilities, the feedback debuff duration for Alakir. That's fantastic.
mm,
Yeah, basically the entire nameplate part of it I find super useful. And then I mean tank and co-tank icons, those are great. I can make those myself super easy, but
yeah,
um like yeah, basically that's what I was running with the tank icons, the nameplate stuff, but everything else kind of getting rid of. And then I was using DBM for like the boss timers.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the problem with Foji, I think, is that to to play with it optimally for a lot of people. I'm not saying for everyone. If you're a raid leader or something like that, then you probably should have all of the things from Foji being tracked. But for most people, the way you play optimally with it is to remove most of it. um, that takes a lot of time and a lot of setup you need to do. You should, while there are anchors that you can have with the packs, you should probably move them around so that they fit the way you play the game. But then you start progression. You've been tinkering. all day before raid release. You finally got something you're happy with, and then you get a notification in Discord. The guild leader is sending out, "Hey guys, there was a new update to the FOG WeakAuras pack. We're gonna need you all to re-download it," and then you have to start over.
Password is fried corn dog 123.
Yeah.
He has the best password names. I do love that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I might use a little bit of Fuji on, the new PC that can potentially handle it, but for
Eventually,
now,
we'll see. We'll see.
I'm Fuji-less.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to talk like talents a little bit?
I think there are probably a few that we can go over a bit. I think a lot of people are sleeping on some talents, and some talents that are maybe a little bit that have been very valuable in the past, have maybe lost a bit of value as well. So, and I do want to talk about, since I saw that you've been experimenting a little bit with running, not running Crimson Scourge. So I want to talk about that as well. So maybe we can just bring up the talent tree and go over that.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing I was noticing, I've been playing around with it on the sim, and like one point in Crimson Scourge was adding like 2500 DPS, and I was like,
Yeah.
that doesn't seem right. And then I was looking at like top logs, rank 1 parses and stuff, and they have like 400 blood boil DPS, maybe for a single target. Maybe 500, maybe 600, but definitely not 2500. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. Do you have any ideas?
I mean, I think the idea, I think I think the sim is overvaluing it, but I still think it's a solid talent for most people until you get higher haste values. But I think the reasoning why the first point is so much stronger than the second point is that you get 10 runic power from Blood Boil, whether or not you have 2 points. So if you have 1 point, you still get the 10 runic power. But also the likelihood that you're going to have a proc up when you need it is probably not going to be that different whether you have 1 or 2 points in it. So you don't use the proc as it comes up. It's a very low priority spell. The only reason you pick it is because there are generally downtimes in your rotation where you would want to use a blood boil to fill that otherwise dead global to get more runic power, get a little bit of an extra damage boost. It's not big, but it's damage nonetheless. So maybe the proc just ends up being lining up in the sim for when you would utilize it, and you don't. And the second point isn't really adding that much value other than the extra damage on Blood Boil, which is pretty negligible to begin with.
Yeah.
That's my theory, and maybe it would be like that in a raid setting as well. I haven't tinkered around with seeing how big of an impact running 1 point versus 2 points would actually be.
Yeah. I mean, at least on the sim, it was like a 60 to 70 DPS increase going from 1 to 2. So it seems like you basically never go to the second point. Having like looked at it more now, I do think you for sure want to do the 1 point even with like higher haste. Yeah, just the baseline benefit of like getting that proc is still worthwhile for sure. I basically just wanted to play around with it for a little bit, see if I could find any like huge difference, but it does look like I don't know about the 2500 DPS gain. That seems a little high. Obviously
Seems ridiculous, yeah.
you're gaining rune strikes, and I think I was seeing generally like 15 to 20 blood boil casts on like a 5-6 minute fight. So like,
Seems high, but yeah, maybe,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I just need some time to like go in and actually look at how much you're like gaining from that. But I
Mhm.
mean, given that, it would be, maybe 5 to 7 rune strikes over the course of a fight, which I mean is definitely not nothing, but I don't think it's anywhere close to like this damage number. But as far
Yeah,
as a single talent point, I don't think there's anything that's really beating it at this like flex point range for
yeah,
sure.
no,
So yeah, I'm for sure adding back in the one Crimson Scourge for next week.
yeah. Um, looking over your, was it your latest main DK raid where you ran without it? And it was that was another thing um, where people in the DK Discord jump right away on your wild and wacky builds and how it's irresponsible of you to recommend stuff like this to your viewers
Oh,
and uh,
irresponsible, huh? Oh, okay.
it's not like you and not like you ever did say to for anyone to use that build, but all right.
I just tell people what I'm doing, and sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But no,
did I ever even like talk about the Crimson Scourge thing?
only on the when we did the pod, you mentioned that you were gonna test it. But
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, if so many people were listening at the 2 hour and 40 minute mark of that podcast, and
Yeah, I mean, man, that's crazy retention. Like,
hey, that's great.
I mean, if you
Kudos.
got, yeah, you got everybody listening 3 hours. That is, I don't know if there's a podcast that gives people like everyone listening to the whole 3 hours. Um,
um, but yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
so no, going back to the towns a little bit. I think yes, I I want to see the performance of 1 versus 2 points. I think that's maybe something that I will play around with a bit because I want to. I'm looking for a point to flex into my third point of Blood Cake Blade, which we'll talk a little about more later. Um, but right now the option is either dropping 1 point in Runic Power Mastery, 1 point in Crimson Scourge, or 1 point in Toughness. And if I wanna pump a little bit more, maybe Toughness, that is the way to go. It's not that huge defensively, but it's I don't want Gildy to inspect me and be like, hey, what the hell is going on
Careful,
here?
you're getting a little irresponsible here, Riani. Watch out.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean that this is a thing we've done, and every version of the game is tanks. Like eventually, you drop some points in toughness to get more
Yeah.
damage at some point. Generally once you're like phase based and stuff, but I mean we're kind of there pretty much already. Like you look at 25, man, some of these bosses dropping 9 pieces of loot. Like the whole
Yeah.
raid's like 370 plus already. It's wild.
Yeah. We're gonna be starting to do splits, and I'm at some I'm I'm at kind of at the stage where I'm like, do we need to?
Yeah, that's
The
like
whole
where I was at. I was like,
the whole
what's
raid is
even
gonna
the
be
point of splits?
yeah, the whole raid's gonna be full best before next tier, even though that splits. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Gives me a
So
reason to play the Prot Warrior at least. So
yeah,
that's fun.
dude. I mean that is
Mhm.
awesome. I love Brower.
Same, same.
As far as like Bloodcake Blade though, on the sim it performs pretty poorly.
Hmm.
I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast or if it was in
No.
DMs, but you were saying you were seeing, like 2 to 3x like actual log damage versus sim damage or
Yeah.
DPS. That's what I've been seeing too. The sim, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't had time to go in and really like nitpick it, but
Yeah.
the sim
From what I
seems
could
to really
tell from
undervalue it.
the DK Discord, I'm not sure if this is the whole like all explains all of it, but it doesn't seem to be proccing from your rune strikes in The Sims, whereas it does
Oh,
in
okay.
game. But I don't. It feels doesn't feel like that should be explaining the whole drop off because
Yeah,
it's a
it's
lot
significant. Yeah.
more. Yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Um.
I
Also,
was doing.
it is procking off Rune Strike too.
It seems like it is. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. I mean, yeah, Blizzard tooltips. Your auto attacks have a 10% chance. Yeah. I mean, this is the same expansion though with
Maybe it's
Vengeance,
something. Yeah,
where
yeah.
like there's literally a blue post where they're like, yeah, we know that tooltip's wrong, but it's
Mm.
close enough. So
Hey, what you gonna do about it?
yeah.
But I think maybe it's some funky stuff with it, with Runestrike previously being a auto attack
Mm,
modifier. Who knows?
yeah. I, if that is it, that would make sense. But I wonder if that would be a like OG Cata bug or like a new bug, because
I'm not
there's
sure.
always that like distinction too. It's like that they use on their decisions sometimes. Like sometimes they decide to fix the old bugs, sometimes they leave them in.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But the damage is a lot higher than um, what's what Sims indicates. So that's something to keep in mind. I found about two times higher generally, but it can be even higher. And per point, it seems to be responsible for about 0.8% of your damage overall on single target. So it's almost a 1% DPS gain from one talent point, which I think is very worth it. Um, Especially when we're going to the flex range
yeah.
talents. So I dropped 2 points in Abomination's Might to pick up 2 points in Blood Cake Blade. But I'm definitely going to be taking the third point as well after doing some testing with it.
And Scent of Blood, I can't remember. Are you going 3 in this?
I'm
That's what
going
I've been
three.
playing with. Yeah.
I think that three is the go-to, and even if you're running kind of the standard build, um, quote unquote standard, I think running 3 out of 3 in Scent of Blood is stronger than running 3 out of 3 in Runic Power Mastery. Um,
Yeah. I mean, just comparing like logs on, 1 point of Scent of Blood, 2 points, 3 points, it is just night and day difference. The
yeah,
amount of runic power you're getting back from this.
yeah.
And then you were I mean getting a little irresponsible here on the toughness, maybe dropping a point.
Oh,
Yeah.
depends on who's listening.
Okay. All right. Anybody from the DK Discord, tune out now. Rihanna has to say something real quick that you guys can come back in.
Shit. No, but the toughness it's a decent per talent point in terms of reducing your damage taken per second. I think per point is like responsible for like 250 DPS or 200 DPS like damage taken per second, um, which is not insignificant. But if your damage income intake is not necessarily a problem, and then you have a ton of overhealing and stuff like that anyway, might as well drop it. Um, Of course, you can drop 2 points in what's it called? The 10% damage reduction. The one right above it. Can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah,
Um,
sure. There's Scarlet Fever.
Scarlet Fever, yeah. If you have another DK in the raid, but even so, there's gonna be a ton of fights where you're not on the same target, and it's pretty grief if you're gonna be asking your feral druid to pop into bear form to to pop a
Yeah.
demo roll every 45 seconds. But
Yeah.
if you don't care about damage taken, then that's a point you can drop as well.
And then yeah, we were I tried playing with 2 Epidemic. It was something I'd done on PC for a little bit. Man,
Feels
it
bad.
doesn't feel good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Being like forced to use that specific GCD on Outbreak every
yeah,
time. Like there's a
yeah,
lot of times you don't want to use that GCD on Outbreak. So
yeah.
I
Like
went back after
delaying like
one
a
raid.
delaying like a perfect DS just because you need to refresh your
Mm,
um, buffs doesn't feel great. Um, yeah, just to talk about the comment that we had here. If using 2 out of 3 in Bloodcake Blade is better than the 2% strength buff from the Abomination's Might, yes, absolutely. On a single target, especially, it performs a lot better. But of course, make sure that you have someone else in the raid to bring the attack power buff. But usually, you'll have a paladin bring in might or um, something along those lines.
yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, as far as like runic power mastery, where are you at on this? Like, I think it feels a lot better to play with the 3, but potentially
Mm,
you can go down to 2. I've also seen that I think every single like top parsing DK I've looked at is running 3 in it too.
yeah, it is a DPS game for sure. But how much of a DPS gain, I think it's up for debate. Like I'm not
Mm,
sure whether or not it's worth more offensively than like a point in Bloodcake Blades, for example.
mm,
But you do end up if you're playing your if you're playing your spec right, you do end up overcapping sometimes. Um, and when I guess if you're playing suboptimally as well, you definitely end up capping a lot. Um, just because of the nature of how the Death Strike glyph works. Um, if we didn't want to play around the high runic power, then obviously this point would be absolutely wasted.
mm-hmm.
But as we want to be over 80 runic power at all times, then it does kind of skew things a little bit. I think it's still worth it. I was running progression with 2 points in it, and I think that was worth. I'd rather have the 2 points in runic power mastery than the 3 points or than 2 points in Scent of Blood. But now when I can drop other talents to pick up 3 out of 3, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think so. Um, yeah. So is this the irresponsible build we're recommending to everybody here?
Well, if you want to be irresponsible, then you're also dropping 3 points on Blade Barrier.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
butcher,
so you're
yeah.
you're picking up 2 points in Butchery, and then of course you're dropping um 2 points in Scarlet Fever, to pick up. Um, I haven't done the Sims on this because it's never really gonna be a something that I do,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if using 2 out of 2 in Abomination's Might is better or worse than the points in Virulence. Um,
How about this? We get both.
yeah, there we go. I think we have it. I think we have it.
The full irresponsible build.
I'm just thinking, if we can drop Will of the Necropolis and Rune Tap as
Oh,
well for something else
okay.
offensive.
Yeah, let's see. Get rid of one rune or one will.
I maybe
There
put
aren't
that point
really like
into
options
the blood
here.
blood boil. I
Yeah,
think.
just like one more blood boil.
Yeah.
I think that's
Um,
about all you can do.
of course, obviously, for like Maloriak, for example, you want to switch over to your second spec where you drop both points in Will of the Necropolis, Rune Tap, and into 3 out of 3 in Morbidity.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Wait. Oh, wait. What else can we drop to
We
get
drop
there?
all points in Will of the Necropolis and
We
Rune Tap.
can't. We
Oh, we
got
can't.
yeah.
Oh,
We this is as far as we can go, Riani.
oh no.
We've
Oh
reached the
no.
limits of our irresponsibility.
So who's gonna screenshot this and put it in DK Discord and say that this is the official recommendation of
Oh yeah,
Riani?
yeah. This is the thumbnail right here, dude. Optimize your blood DK with this challenge tree as the thumb.
The official way of how to play right.
I don't know if they'd ever talk about anything else again, dude.
Oh no, I'm
Yeah.
not ready for that. I'm not ready for that kind of heat.
I'm not. Yeah. um, but yeah, I mean the one out toughness. I feel like that's pretty reasonable. Like for somebody who's farming these raids.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think running 0 on farm is fine as well. But yeah, don't want to be recommending anything out here for you know that's um yeah I last week we also talked a little bit about glyphs, and I don't think anything has changed there, but I do wanna get your opinion
Mhm.
of now maybe you've played around with the AMS glyph a little bit more, and
Yes.
just and what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. My kind of standard now is just Bone Shield, AMS, and Rune Tap. Uh,
Hmm.
Potentially, I'd like swap, one of these two out depending on the fight, but this is just kind of my go-to now. Definitely found a lot of benefit in the extra 2 seconds. I'm glad you
Hmm.
brought that up. Because yeah, it's pretty valuable. The immuning various mechanics and
Yeah.
um also just sometimes the whole AMS doesn't get used up. You maybe get to use a little bit more.
I found it so rare that it gets used up. Actually, it's I when I looked at kind of the AMS rework, if you will, compared to how it was in Wrath, I was thinking that this is probably going to be used up a lot. So the extra value is mainly only going to be in cases where you use the AMS to immune applications. So if you're talking like council, if you're tagging the ads on Anshal, then obviously that is huge because you're not taking any damage, any magical damage while you're tanking the ads. You're When you have AMS up, because the damage comes from the once the buff is applied to you. So just being able to AMS all of the stacks, you don't run any risk of breaking the shield early, and obviously they're not going to be applying any debuffs to you. But even on like cases where you would expect it to be fully consumed, like Nefarian, I found that I can regularly soak both Crackle and the Breath with one AMS and it may be breaking at the end. So it's way more value than I think a lot of people expect when it comes to the 2 extra seconds, and should, I think, for most, I mean I feel for everyone, be insta lock in the prime or in the major glyph slot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think is I mean, even just beyond boss fights too, definitely super valuable there. Just random things like BOT trash, the guys that do the stasis strike or whatever that stuns you. You just get a bigger
Mm.
window to immune more than one of those.
Yeah.
There's just so many benefits to it. I'm definitely a huge fan. I'm glad you woke me up because I was sleeping on that one. I was sleeping on that one. The rune tap one. Do you use that one much?
Well, you see, Rune Tap, it takes a blood rune. I don't wanna grief my heart strikes.
Anti parse, anti parse. Uh,
Um, it's even if you don't use your blood runes on rune tap, you still get free value from the Wilton Acropolis talent every once in a while. Because
mhm.
if you're running a haste build, obviously you're taking double damage, so that means you're gonna go sub 35% more often.
True. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. You get crit every single attack when you're running haste. Man, my health
yeah,
is going 100 to 1 constantly. Like it's
yeah.
insane. Like not having this mastery. Oh my
I
god.
personally run in on Holy Presence, so you can get more haste on death strikes.
Ooh.
So you get
That's
crit all the
smart.
time.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Absolutely responsible. I like it.
But
Um
I don't know. I was just following this guide on YouTube by someone. I don't know.
yeah, I heard only the best guys are on YouTube. So one thing I found this was like really valuable for the rune tap glyph was like 10-man Sinestra prog. So
Okay.
like around like flame breaths,
Yeah.
like that was a frequent time when like we could lose somebody because you're dealing with like
Mm.
probably rack,
Yeah.
flame breath, and slicer all at the same time. So just being able to throw out this little, heal to half the raid, in 10 man, uh
Yeah.
sometimes was a difference maker because you look at the deaths sometimes and people are dying by a couple thousand and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
like a rune tap heal literally would have just saved them there.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just found it pretty valuable for our 10-man Sinestra prog if I could just try to time a rune tap around flame breaths to just do whatever I could to help people stay alive.
Yeah. How much value do you get from it generally? Like if you look at a log, how much would how
It's
much of a percent would
actually,
that be of your
yeah,
healing?
it's a few percent. So uh did I not have it on this one? Or on VNT I'm like I'm now the like
Mm.
always Twilight guy. So
Oh, I see.
um
Yeah, yeah.
might not be healing them with it. Actually trying to remember. It's like a few percent though. Like it's generally like a few 100,000.
Not
I'm
bad.
not
Not
sure if I
bad.
was like just not running it in this raid. I don't know why I don't have like healing onto other people here. Um, yeah, I can look it up while we're talking about other stuff. Um,
Yeah. Maybe that's how you're squeezing out those rank 1 logs in the healing. Uh,
that's
getting
it,
healing
man.
on the raid.
Everything I can do to min max those heal parses, I'm doing it. I'm standing in fire. I'm trying to maximize my
Of course.
damage taken so I can do 1,000 more HPS.
Of course, of course. You can play with the Dark Sucker minor glyph, so that you can get killing blows on ads in order to swap into Unholy Presence, press Death Strike, and then swap back to Blood Presence. Just to get that.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that one yet.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
we're cooking up tech here.
Very, very
Live.
responsible. I love it. Okay, yeah.
um,
Finally, one where I'm actually using it. But I mean, on this one,
okay.
2.3%. I've
Hey,
seen a
not
little bit
bad.
higher, like 4%. But I mean, it's it's something. If you can
Yeah.
just add a little bit of rate healing, and 25 minutes is not as valuable as 10 man. And 10 man, when you're literally healing like half the raid with it, that's where it becomes a little bit more interesting, I think. But if you're
Yeah.
not using like a glyph that's gonna have much impact on the fight or any impact on the fight, this is just kind of my go-to. Like, okay, that'll have some value. Like, throw it in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm generally running Pestilence just because I forget about going and swapping glyphs and stuff like that. And there are very, 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 very few fights where you get any value from Glyph of Pestilence. So I should
Mhm.
probably just swap over. And if I want to spread my dots on maybe Valiant or Thralian,
Mhm.
maybe a Meloriac for the green face, stuff like that, then I can spend that vanishing powder or dust of disappearance, whatever, to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, like here on Neff, this is like closer to a 4% one.
Yeah,
But
not bad.
yeah, yeah, I mean, it's something. It's all right. 472 HPS on it. But yeah, one thing and two I noticed, while I've got it up here, uh, blood parasite, man, 66% overheal. There's like other ones I see it's 70, 80%, but it's still doing like 1500 HPS. It's
Mhm.
like, man, imagine if you unlocked the blood parasites. They'd basically be like half a healer if like, they weren't, you take the overheal down to 0%, they're getting full value every time.
Mhm.
You're adding like, potentially 5,000 HPS to the raid is bringing it half a healer. I just hadn't really realized how restrained they are.
Yeah.
Um, just like
Oh yeah.
they aren't living up to their full potential.
That's a shame. I feel like you're not enabling your worms either. You you should you should really look into empowering your worms, and the way that you do that is that you unequip your big two-handed weapon and go with two fast one-handers.
Mm, I am aware
And
of this. Yeah. Yeah, some people were talking about like on like Neff maybe do this tech where like if you're doing Neff ads, um where
where damage doesn't matter.
yeah, like
Yeah.
nothing you do on the ads really matters.
Hmm.
Like you're gonna D&D, you're gonna pestilence and like blood bow to pick them up, and then like nothing matters after that. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, somebody in my chat brought up this tech. They're like, why don't you just like dual wield and like as many bloodworms as you can if like your damage doesn't even matter?
Yeah.
It's like,
Worm
yeah,
weave.
yes, I love it.
Yeah, no, it's a huge amount of healing, and I think I was very early um, woken up to the worm potential during the beta, because during the beta we couldn't use details for the longest time,
Mm.
so you were stuck with using Skada in the which is the way it's supposed to be pronounced.
Oh, okay.
um, but the that add-on does not care about overhealing. All
Mm.
overhealing is healing. And boy, oh boy, were those worms doing a lot of healing. Now, granted, there was a bug on the beta that you got worms like they were in Wrath of the Lich King.
Yep.
So, like on proc, you got like 3 to 5 worms,
Yeah, that
but they
was
still did
incredible.
the Cataclysm values.
That was an amazing, amazing time.
That was, if that stuck around, then worm weaving would have been the meta.
Yeah. I can't remember. Were they capped also, or like could you just get
No.
yeah, you could just get
Yeah.
as many as you wanted. Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would like legitimately be like a thing people would do. You bring like
Yeah.
one healer and then a blood DK dual wielding super fast weapons, and you just get a million bloodworms.
Yeah. As you just see that happening, the world first Nefarian kill. It's one disc priest for barriers and shields and stuff like that, and 5 or like 4 other blood DKs in a group with fast one-handers and unholy presence, just swinging away to proc
Yeah,
bloodworms.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you would bring blood DKs as just DPSers for
Hmm.
sure. Damn,
Well,
that would,
healers.
yeah, essentially
Yeah.
healers. They're just like a different flavor of like disc priests, sort of like
Yeah,
like
doing
with
doing damage to heal.
atonement. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Dude, I love it. I love it.
What could have been? What could have been?
You want to talk like rotation? I guess we've like kind of already talked about that. Did you have any other like rotation things you wanted to bring up?
So maybe I'll drop the. I've been holding back some of the tech that I was talking about earlier, just for the retention part here. So if you see a huge just drop off in viewers right now after I revealed this tech, then people were just sticking around for the high value
Oh
parsing
yeah.
text that Riani has been keeping
Hmm.
from the rest of the world. Um, so since this is part of the rotation, we want to talk a little bit about how you open the fight before we reveal the tech. So for most people, I think no, for everyone, not just for people who wants to do damage, but everyone. I think your rotation should generally be, um, you open up with army. Don't do this on Sinestro, by the way. But for most fights, open up with army between. So I found that if you army right at 8 seconds, you can run into the chance of getting 29 runic power when you open the fight. So I always like to do between the 7 and 8 second mark when I use my army, so that you get that 30 runic power right on pull, because you're going to be doing army into Horn of Winter. You can Horn of Winter at any time between the army and the pull. So right as you're done with army, you can just Horn of Winter. Then you run into the fight. You pre-pot at 1 second left, and with strength potion, of course, and use Death Strike, Heart Strike. Will put you at 60 runic power, or 60 runic power, and generally by that time you'll be Vengeance Cap, because Vengeance Cap is so quick that if you want to ensure that you are runic power, or that you Vengeance Capped, just go ahead and turn your back to the boss for one quick second, get a little swing in the back, and then you're gonna be Vengeance Cap for sure.
That sounds a little irresponsible, Rihanna. Watch out. They're gonna be coming for you.
This is not official recommendations, by the way. Um, and uh, and after not getting a parry or a dodge because you were obviously not facing your back towards the boss, obviously on pull, then once your vengeance capped, you pop your dancing rune weapon into pestilence, into death strike, heart strike, and I found that the death strike generally comes up, like the first death strike that you use generally comes up at that time as well. So you death strike there as well. I don't think that it's worth holding the that it's worth pressing the heart strike that comes available there as well. The blood rune that you get right after that death strike. I think it's better to go straight into your empowered rune weapon, into death strike, and then I'm a bit torn if I prefer to use a second death strike right away, because I'm gonna be dumping some runic power after. So if I like to incorporate one blood rune in order to get that on cooldown with Heart Strike, or if I like to dump both Death Strike at once in order to be able to offload some runic power and get more runic power procs into the Death Rune cycle. Maybe you can weigh in there. What you prefer to do?
Yeah, so right now I've just been basically doing what you described. Army, horn, pot. I haven't been doing the back turn thing, so maybe I'll do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
obviously.
it just kind of like, I mean, it guarantees that you get your vengeance cap instead of it just being RNG. So
Yeah, unless the
not
boss misses, but low miss chance.
true. Yeah, like less than 1 in 20. So
Yeah.
you know,
Make
for
sure that you don't play Night Elf.
yeah. Official Riani recommendation: do not be a night elf, bloody K. Uh,
Got it.
so yeah, and then I'm doing DSHS, um, Dancing Rune Weapon, uh, DSHS, uh, Empower, DSHS, DS,
Mm.
um,
Because
and
at
then
that point you are at 100, or you're at
yeah,
130 runic power.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
capped at that point. So then at that
yeah.
point, what I've been doing is I think at this point you have like basically 3 seconds left on DRW, something like that.
Mm.
So then I'm doing like Rune Strike, and then hopefully it's a Rune Refresh,
Mm.
uh, close to coin flip chance you get the Rune Refresh. Combo
Yeah,
Blood Tap with that to throw a Death Strike
yeah.
as your like final Dancing Rune Weapon ability. Or if you get unlucky, then just throw a Heart Strike to
Mm.
make sure you get some ability going out for that final one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's how I've been playing it. I'm not. I think that's the best way to do it, but I still need to check out some of the top logs and see what they're
Mm.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you want to check out the top logs doing, then just equip total Pepega gear and press your buttons, you'll get there. Uh,
It is
um,
getting pretty crazy pretty quick. Like some of the
yeah.
stuff I'm seeing, but
Yeah. I think the kind of, the best way to, I don't think always the best person to look at when it comes to doing rotational stuff is the top person, but the top person that isn't sacrificing huge amount of stuff
mhm.
for their, for the damage while still pulling high numbers.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, but yeah, after that point, I pretty much, you have about a 3 second window between the end of your dancing rune weapon until your, at least for me, because I use the one of the strength, like heroic dungeon trinkets that has a strength on use with a
Mhm.
1 30-minute cooldown. So I have 3 seconds window where I still have um, that trinket up with my pre-pot, with lust, and hopefully a fallen crusader as well. That's where I pop my ghoul. So to snapshot my ghoul.
Mhm.
Um, but and of course, when we talk about snapshotting, the ghoul, it scales primarily of haste. That's the biggest amplifier for it, and then strength is the other amplifier, not attack power. So using waiting to cap your vengeance for your pets doesn't do anything. Um, so you want to pay attention to your Fallen Crusader proc, and you want to pay attention to your, obviously your trinkets and pot and stuff like that. And then attack speed modifiers with the bloodlust and whatnot. But as we mentioned, that haste is the biggest amplifier for your pets. You're on, like, not your active pets, like if you're an unholy DK or whatever, but your on use ones. Brings us to the secret tech, the pre-pull tech. So this will depend a little bit on whether or not you're using if you're using a on, or two rather, if you're using two trinkets that are either activate trinkets, like how I have one trinket that is a on use that I use my dancing room weapon, and then I have one trinket that is a proc trinket, solace. So that, and so unless you have two trinkets like that, like I do, then you can trinket swap before the fight. And there is one trinket in the game that has an insane amount of haste on use, and that is the Shard of Woe from Sinestra. That trinket has, I think it's 2,100 haste on use, and you can use that, pop army, swap back to your normal trinkets, and snapshot your army on pull that way, and it's kind of quite a significant damage boost.
Damn. Okay. That's big tech.
Yeah.
What kind of like DPS have you like seen logs of people doing this, and like what kind of damage are they getting from it?
Oh, I haven't seen anyone do it. I'm not sure if people have been griefing their healers just yet to get it.
I mean, with the amount of loot you get in 25, man, like it's not unreasonable that there's, shards getting sharded already. Like, I
Yep.
mean, you get 3 of them to drop 2 weeks in a row. Boom.
Yeah. Indeed. And but it's I haven't seen numbers on exactly what it is, but I can imagine that it's a quite decent amount of damage. But where the value I think comes in as well is on council, not council on um, yeah, council, the second boss or the third boss in Bastion of Twilight,
Mhm.
because there you can get the damage amplifying buffs on your pets.
Yeah, I
Um,
noticed that.
yeah, and that unfortunately is the only way to get a good log. I cannot for the life of me get a good log on council because I cannot get those freaking that buff on my pet. And it's the difference between your army doing 1.5 to 2% damage to army doing 10% damage uh, overall of your damage. So just losing out on 10% damage just means you're not going
Yeah.
to get a good log. So it's a bit of RNG. But if you get snapshotted ghouls with the haste buff and all of that on that fight, then man, you're going to be getting yourself an easy rank 1 right there.
Yeah, so for like as a troll DK, do you think I should be throwing my ghoul earlier? Like since I'm like berserking,
Mm.
with dancing rune weapon. Do you think I
What's
should
the um how long is it active for?
less 10 seconds?
Oh,
So it's a little
yeah.
bit awkward because like it's nice to have during dancing rune, but probably better to make sure you have the ghoul cast during it. So maybe you pop it. Well, it yeah, I don't know. Maybe you pop it toward like the tail end. So like you have it for like most of your dancing rune weapon, and then like your GCD after dancing rune weapon is like ghoul with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's a pretty easy way to test though. Just run, you could just do some target dummy stuff and
Yeah.
test whether or not using a snapshotted ghoul versus a snapshotted ghoul would do more damage than the additional damage you get from
Hmm.
one extra global within your dancing room weapon window.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'll
I
give
think
that
that
a
could be
shot.
that could be a reasonable trade though, because imagine if it's the difference between a hard strike or a ghoul. The extra hard strike damage is probably going to be like maybe 20k or something like that. Um, Compared to a hard strike that's used outside of the dancing room open window. And it's pretty reasonable. I think it's a pretty reasonable assumption to make that it could be over 20k extra damage from your ghoul. So
Yeah.
I would do some tests,
Give it a
see what's up.
shot. Yeah, see what
Yep.
happens. Um Sorry, just looking at chat, seeing if we got any good questions to pick up on.
I want to know what MCP is.
Oh, Manual Crowd Pummeler, the mace from No
Yes,
Gone,
that's right.
the
I
haste
still
on
I
use.
still
Yeah.
use that a little bit in ICC to snapshot army on pull, but it's only 500 haste now compared to a percentage value, and I
Mhm.
don't think that it necessarily outweighs the strength value you get from your weapon, as well as if you have potential haste on your weapon already. Like if you just have the normal magma weapon and reforge
Mm-hmm.
into haste, that's already like 150 haste or something like that you get from that. So then the benefit would be 350 haste versus the strength that you have on the weapon, and then you can only use it once every hour. So I don't know. Maybe it could be worth, maybe not. And if it is, then it's a very small gain.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, 500 haste, what, like 3.5% attack speed? Something like that, I think.
Mm.
Definitely not quite what the MCP used to be.
No. No, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Odin's asking, HS with 4 diseases below 100 RP more valuable than DS, isn't it? He's talking about, so correct me if I'm wrong, but HS doesn't get increased by your dancing rune weapon diseases, right?
I'm pretty
If your
sure
own
about
are already present.
that.
Yeah. So yeah, you're not getting like the double amplification there.
Unfortunate.
Unforge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we've pretty much talked all the like rotation, damage kind of stuff. Unless you got anything else there, we could go over like general tanking tips for like tier 11.
Yeah, I mean, rotation wise, I feel like it's so much feel as well, because you have a dynamic rotation. It's not like it's a press this button, this
Mm-hmm.
button, this button, and then that button, and you'll do that every single time. It's all going to depend on your procs and what you're actively doing in the fight and what you need. If you if you require healing, then maybe don't use your blood runes or death runes on hard strike. But generally, it's a priority based system. But one thing I will say is that I think people are terrible at tracking their on-use things, and people are using their pets and their engineering bombs way too little. Set up some good
That's me.
WeakAuras. Yeah, I said people, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I got a lot I got to improve on. I mean,
yeah, man of the people.
I'm ranked 12 right now, but I can go so much higher.
Oh yeah, you are. I need to check what I am.
Unless it dropped. I don't know.
Um,
It
I am.
is after midnight, so it may have dropped.
I have dropped a little bit. I'm rank 7 right now. Tend to go up and down between the rank 2 to 3 and it's like rank 10, and then Wednesday comes again, time to pump, and we're back
Yeah.
up there.
It just goes down every day.
Yeah, unfortunate. But yeah, utilize your stuff more. Your set up WeakAuras for your tinkers on your glove tinkers, and your bombs. It's free damage, even if it's not huge. Over a fight can easily be like 20 KD damage, and if that's free, you take it every single time.
For damn.
Every single time. Yep.
Yeah, as far as like just general tanking tips for tier 11, anything that kind of jumps out at you?
AMS usage is probably a big one. There are a lot of fights where you can get a lot of good value from that. One little trick I don't think a lot of people know about is that you can AMS the green buff from a Loriak. So once you get the pushback and you get 100% damage increase taken, you can pop
Yeah.
AMS and you don't get the buff.
Ooh, that's a big one. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. So if you're normally using that window to pop, your defensive cooldowns and whatnot, got you covered. You can save those for phase 3 if you want.
That's big.
Yeah.
Have you guys started doing the Holy Pally kite at all on
No.
Maloriak? Okay.
No. Not yet.
It's pretty fun. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Being done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely fun. It's gets the fight over with very quickly.
Yeah. No, we still do at least one green phase and then kill the ads and then we just kite normally the last phase. I'm wondering whether or not it's gonna be a DPS increase to do it that way for us as tanks, because we do get to squeeze out a little bit extra damage on the ads in that green phase. Pop in some sappers, some D&Ds, and maybe a little bit of a dancing room weapon, pestilence action.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we did a really scuffed one this week that definitely is not a great indicator, but I can see kind of how mine compared at least. Oh yeah, dropped to 14, dude. Dude, just dropping left and right.
Yikes.
We're looking at Maloriak. I mean, I saw a pretty big bump this week, but I mean, could be other factors. But we did take 42 seconds off the kill time.
Yeah,
So
that's not bad. Not bad.
Definitely helpful.
Still, of course, lower than mine, but
no. Yeah. What am I? Yeah, I'm like 11 on Maloriak.
Yeah. Not bad. Not bad.
What's your Maloriak DPS? Have you hit 30k?
Oh, you know what rank I am?
Are you 1?
10.
Oh my god. Wait, what's the DPS though? Is it like 27,995?
28,010.
28,010?
Yeah.
Oh my god, is 16 higher?
Hell yeah.
Dude, I love that. That's so good. What's fight duration? I'm curious on that.
We have 440.
440. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so this was our first time like trying it, and it was really scuffed. We had like ads running all over the place. Some of them were next to Maloriak like almost the entire time, and reducing his damage taken. So as we get better at that strat, hopefully, we can maybe break like 30k. And do you know what the like top bars on that is right now?
Check. Well, over 31k, so pretty darn
over 31.
Long ways to go. Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting there.
Yeah, indeed. Let's see, Maloriak. 32k. Yeah, little heroic Heart of Rage and Solace action going on there.
Oh, like that. I gotta get DP. Yeah, this is my DK that has no DPS trinkets, so I gotta start farming that Tolvir Lost City.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. As far as tanking tips, I mean,
Yeah, I think a big one right now if people aren't already doing it, is the for Chimeron. If people aren't already doing the 2 tank, like, solo blood DK outside of feud strat, then that's a huge one. Basically allows you to solo tank the entire fight, and if you have a cat, a druid off tank, he could just stay in cat all fight and come into bear form just for the feuds and then go back to DPSing. So the way that the safety mechanic works is that if you're above 10k HP, then you're basically immune to dying. But due to the whole double attack mechanic, then you need to be topped off so you can survive one attack and not get killed by the second attack instantly. But the way that shields work is that it basically calculates the shield first, and as long as you have a shield that's higher than 10k, then you are immortal. You can't die. So as long as you're a DK who has a blood shield up during the double attack animation, once the boss gets that buff, you can't die. It doesn't matter if you have a million break stacks or if you have 0. The outcome is the same.
Yeah.
So that's definitely some tech.
Do you know if this works with just power word shield too? Is it just all absorbs that
I was thinking
about
that, and it is all absorbs, but I'm unsure if the timing works out so you can do it with power word shield every single time, because you have the 15-second cooldown on power word shield.
Yeah, it'll work out then, because there's only one double attack like per cycle, right? Because it's double attack, and then the next double attack cast is gonna be into massacre, so then it just fizzles it. So
I wasn't sure if it was 2 or
yeah,
3.
because he casted, I think he casted every 15 seconds, so it's always like double attack, then he casts double attack, but he massacres before he actually does it, so then it just fizzles. And then like 15 seconds later, he'll do the next double attack. So each cycle, just like in system failure, like it's always just on the same cycle. Like you only ever take one double attack in system failure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like it should work. I've always heard it called like the DK tech, but like while you were talking about it, I was like, I guess Ambit could
priest
do
tech
it
too.
Yeah, just like Ambit could do it with a PWS.
Yeah. Or if you have a holy paladin, just spam the mastery
yeah.
in the
yeah, was it illuminated healing or something?
Yeah.
Get that scarab brooch out from AQ.
Hell yeah. No, but I maybe I'll try that with the warrior sometime. Do a little bit of priest action.
Yeah, let me know.
Hate to rely on other people for my survivability, but when you're a warrior, you don't have any other choice.
That's kind of what you've signed up for. Yeah, that's the like weirdest thing going, between Blood DK and anything else. It feels so weird, like going back in time to when you're reliant on your healers to stay alive. You're not the one doing 50 to 60% of your own healing. You're just sitting there trying to reduce your damage taken, and hopefully you get healed.
Yeah. It's a bummer. I'm looking forward to Miss of Pandaria in that aspect.
Oh. Yeah, Mop is gonna be nuts. I didn't play tank last time around. I played Rogue, but it was my favorite expansion they ever did, and everything I've heard about tanks in that expansion just really makes me want to play it. Like 1 million, potential vengeance cap and just absurd stuff.
Yeah, I think if the DK Discord has the same mentality about tank damage doesn't matter, I think that they are gonna have a rough time in Miss of Pandaria. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rude awakening for sure.
Maybe we'll see some /sit maxing. I think that was fixed in original Moth.
It was, yeah. So a while back, I like looked at all the vengeance changes. It's I can bring them up. It's actually kind of hilarious because you can just like see like all these changes were written in blood, basically, like just like the degeneracy. It's just fun to like look back because it's like, oh, you get reduced vengeance from like standing in fire, and you get
Yeah.
reduced vengeance from like having lots of things attacking you, and you get reduced vengeance from being crit, and
Yeah.
you can just see like in your head all the degenerate shit people were doing, and it's kind of funny because that's
Obviously.
exactly what we would do too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm guessing it's turn back weaving now.
Oh yeah, yeah, it could be. Um, yeah, so like I mean in 5.4 you have like all these ones. Actually 40% more threat for tank specs. Like
It's wild.
I don't know how that's like needed. Like we're already
Yeah.
coming from the 500%, but
Yeah.
yeah, vengeance attack power equal to 1.5% of the damage taken, down from 1.8. Tanks no longer receive vengeance from main persistent area effects, standing in fire, or from missed attacks. Dodging, parrying, and attack will continue to work as it did before. So this kind of leads me to believe like dodges and parries actually give you vengeance. Like the vengeance if the hit were to land. Was that a
Mm,
thing?
I guess so. Because it does not do that currently.
Yeah, definitely not currently. Very, very noticeable when you run into a boss and you're just sitting at zero vengeance for a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
feels
I'm
bad.
guessing that makes sense, especially with the introduction of Monk, because you
Hmm.
you'll have uh like 80% avoidance with parry and dodge when you have your buffs up. So
Hmm.
it would be pretty a bit of a bummer if you're like, okay, I'm a monk, but I can't use my blackout strike to get the 20% parry buff, and I can't use my elusive brew stacks to get 40% dodge
Hmm.
either, because I need to get my vengeance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then diminishing returns for vengeance gains while tanking multiple targets, because people just like dragged trash packs into bosses, from what I heard.
Yeah. 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 I remember that, like it's a Heart of Fear,
Yeah,
where
that's the one I've heard, I think. The
yeah,
Empress, maybe?
yeah, it could be. I just remember seeing Kungen warrior
Oh, yeah,
back in the days,
yeah.
pulling everything and doing like 1.2 million DPS or whatever it was, or 2
Jesus.
million. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the numbers got kind of crazy in MOP. I
Yep.
think we had our first 1 billion HP boss, I think, right? In MOP.
I can't remember, but wasn't it wasn't it after MOP that they decided to do the little stat squish, the first stat
Yeah,
squish?
yeah. Wad had this stat squish
Yeah.
on like Raw Den too. The Throne of Thunder like optional like
Mm,
Algalon count boss.
yeah.
Um, he would get from the anima or whatever. I think he would get like HP increases or something if you let them hit him, something like that.
Mm.
And if his HP got too high, it would like crash the game because like it just couldn't handle like the HP numbers he was getting to. So yeah, just fun stuff like that. But I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to Mob.
Me too. Me too. I may or may not have been starting to dabble a little bit in um, illegal stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that too. Once things die down a little bit with Kata, I was gonna start hopping on there.
Yeah.
Are you doing like I think it was like Mistblade? That was the one I was hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, heard good things about that
Stormforge
one.
or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's yeah. Yeah. There's some
yeah,
wonky stuff, but it's 3 times experience. So the leveling process is definitely not fast, but it's it's not too terrible either. You can actually see how the game is at a lower level and and not just power through everything until end game, and then
Small
fun.
correction. Squirrel in chat says Raden just went to 1 out of 1 HP, so you couldn't kill him. He would just become immortal. Squirrel, I think, cutting edge on Raden back in the day. So I trust whatever he says. I must have misremembered the game crashing thing. I knew there was something wonky with it though.
Yeah. Did cutting edge, did that get introduced in MOP as well, or was it just ahead of the curve?
I'm not sure. Squirrel, what did you get cutting edge? He has like literally every cutting edge for that's ever happened. So
okay.
C was MOP, he says. Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
It's time for the return of Link CE for invites.
Yep.
Link CE and logs. Sorry.
Yeah. or you get that what was it, the Archon paid add-on that you can like mouse over people and see their logs.
Of course. You don't have that? God.
I haven't got it yet. Have they actually expanded it to Cata yet? They added it to SOD, I think, initially, but I'm not sure if Cata even has it.
I don't know, but I feel like every Cata player just permanently has Warcraft logs on their second monitor. That's like the home screen.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
If it's not to check pugs and see if you should invite them or not, it's you just have your own logs up there, just so you can glance over and be like, yeah, goddamn right. I am a pumper.
Yeah. Print that out, put it on the fridge, tape it to the mirror every day when you wake up, just to look at it. I am a pumper. I am a pumper.
Over the bed in case you need some motivation,
Yeah. I was actually curious. So I've done very little on my Prot Warrior in raid so far. I'm just in a very casual raid with some friends on my Prot Warrior. As far as tanking tips for Prot Warriors, do you have anything you found useful?
I mean, I think become very good friends with your Holy Paladin. I've never felt the need to track beacon as much as I have on my warrior.
Okay.
It'll definitely happen. We'll do a tank swap, and I'll be like, all right, swap your beacon. But I don't think that they're necessarily in a bad place, and I feel like the damage taken per second is actually rather low. Like you definitely have very good mitigation, and especially when you have shield block up, you have that CTC cap, you have a little bit of crit block as well, and the damage taken definitely feels very smooth during that time. But obviously that's only 1/3 of your uptime on the boss, generally. But I feel like most of the optimizations that you can do on a Prot Warrior is more for damage. So knowing, when you can pop out of battle stance to hop in, or pop out of defensive stance to go into battle stance or berserker stance, little class of smash weaving. If you can pop out to do some recklessness into execute action and stuff like that, some real irresponsible stuff. But as long as you do it right, then you can do it.
I think on Fight Club they might endorse that.
No.
On Fight Club they won't.
No, the protection Fight Club is I think worse than the Blood DK.
Really? Oh man.
Not worse in terms of like worse as players, but in their mentality towards if tank damage matters or not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. That does seem to be like a common theme, I guess, amongst like class discords. I guess because they're trying to reach like the largest number of players. Um, so like most
Yeah.
of their target audience is people who like, probably would benefit more from, completely focusing on survival. But
Yeah. I saw someone say the other day that it's while our content is maybe more catered towards people who either are or strive to be in the like the 99th percentile, the discords are generally for the people between the 50th and 75th percentile.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird because I feel like the people that are, sweating over optimization and go into discords just to talk about, uh, how to compare notes and get better and stuff like that would be kind of the sweaty people. I think that maybe that was the case a little bit, more back in the days, but right now it feels definitely way more casual friendly, based on the conversations that's happening in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I've noticed too. But I mean all these different like avenues for, guides and information for tanks, like they all have their place. Like there's a segment that is more interested in like kind of the min-maxing stuff that we do. And then there's this segment that, you know, they're beyond beginner, like intermediate maybe. And like they know like the basics. They're trying to improve on the basics basically. But yeah, I mean, all of them have a role. There's so many different types of like players that play this game. Different starting points everybody has. So like, I don't know. There's definitely not like one like correct way to play a class, play the game in general. Is
Yeah,
really depends on the
that's the
player
thing.
themselves.
We tend to think that our experience is indicative of everyone else's, which is sometimes a bit of a misplay.
Yeah,
I think that's something, especially for us that make guide content, is important to keep in mind, and maybe, um, if not cater the content to a wider pool of people, at least make it clear that if you are someone um, who is still finding, their place in the tanking role and not really too familiar with rotational stuff, and you still haven't moused over your abilities to see what they actually do, then maybe the trinket weaving army is not the highest priority for you right now.
yeah,
um yeah.
yeah. Like there's so many steps to take, from like just starting out to improving to getting up to hundreds, 99s, whatever. And yeah, there's I guess like diminishing returns kind of on each step. Like you get much bigger gains at like the earlier steps, like learning your
Mm,
rotation, how to do your rotation. That's just gonna pay dividends. That's
yeah.
just the single most important thing for every class.
Yeah.
Like those early steps that you need to focus on, those are the biggest ones. And then just take it step by step. Don't worry about like getting perfect ghoul snapshots or whatever when you're not even doing your rotation correctly. Just take it step by step. Keep improving. Once you feel like you've got the rotation down, then you can move on to something else. Start working on that. Once you got that down, start working on something else, and just kind of take it step by step, and don't overwhelm yourself.
Yeah, I feel like the Pareto curve is so accurate in all aspects of life, but I think in the in your WoW journey as well, it takes about 20% of your efforts to get 80% of the results. And honestly, going in and actively engaging with people that know better, or that at least have more experience, like I think, like if you are someone who is in a beginning position and want to improve, like, and I have a 21 minutes guy that's kind of focused on that 80% on getting from 0 to like 80, and that's like 20% of the effort. And once you're comfortable with that, then you can put the other 80% of the effort into getting the last 20%. But that 20% is not as consequential as the first 80. So definitely, you start at the right end and put your effort where it matters, and then we can start talking about, okay, should I spend this global on Ghoul or Heartstrike? Or should I, should I turn my back on the first hit from the boss to Vengeance Cap? Should I drop 1 point in toughness for 1 point in Bloodcake Blades? That stuff is important, and I think just because you're a beginner doesn't mean you shouldn't entertain those questions as well. But figure out the other stuff first, and then we can start talking about how to get most optimal play.
Yep, absolutely. Baby steps. One thing too, I mean, I guess I'll just mention it. We were talking about tank tips. I've run into like kind of a weird amount of people that don't know that you can bop off the stacks of malevolent strikes on Halfist. That is just a complete game changer. I had thought that was like pretty common knowledge by now, but I keep running into people that don't know about that. They ask me like why they're wiping to Halfist, take a look at logs, and it's like, oh, you're like, never bobbing off the stacks. That's one of the biggest things you can do.
Definitely. You can do it twice as well. So if you're in a 25-man scenario, you can pop up the first time. Most likely you'll have to do a 1 tank swap, and drop the stacks, tomp back, and then you can do a bop again for the second cycle. No need to do any more tank swaps after that.
Yeah, and for 10-man, you don't even need to generally do a tank swap at all, I've found, because he just does so much less damage there.
Yeah, you can keep yourself up with just blood shields alone, because that's another thing that your absorbs don't get affected by healing reduction. So if you are as 100% with healing reduction at Halfist, you can still Death Strike or do the blood shield to your heart content. Same thing with Chimera on the last phase. You can just keep getting blood shields. If you have the debuff from the eyes on Shogal, you're still getting the full blood shield value, even if you aren't getting the full Death Strike healing. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as well. Another thing, so this goes for all DKs, but on Alakir in the second phase, you can drop your stacks every three stacks, which does a ton for reducing overall damage taken. That will make things easier on the healers.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Any experiments you're doing right now for anything?
I think not super experimenty, but I am going to be swapping around my talent builds for next raid. But that's primarily to pick up 1 point in Bloodcake Blades and dropping 1 point in Crimson Scourge, probably. We'll see. Maybe I drop another point in toughness. We'll see. But that's just because but that's not really an experiment, because we know the value of Bloodcake Blade, and that is great. I might run the strength crit metagem next week. See how much value we get from that, especially with the Midsummer buff. If there's ever a week to run it, then it's now. And apart from that, not really a lot I'm testing out. So I think I'll be testing some warrior tech over the next few weeks. So we'll see where we come down on that.
One thing I guess to mention too about BCB that we didn't really talk about before is it also leads to more Fallen Crusader procs. So higher uptime on Fallen Crusader. So when you're looking at logs and you're looking at DPS from BCB, keep in mind also the Fallen Crusader uptime. That's another one to look at.
Uptime, but also just the raw healing from it.
Yeah, the healing as well. Yep.
Yeah, it's way better than people think. And I guess it's we did it during the last podcast, but time to make a little public service announcement again. Fallen Crusader over Stone Skin Gargle any day of the week for everyone, I would say. Even
All
if
day,
you're
every day.
Yeah, even if you're progressing, even if you're more casual, Fallen Crusader is the way to go. And that's not a dangerous, reckless tip. That just it ends up being the pretty equivalent defensively, but you just get the damage for free.
Yep.
Which is not bad at all.
Tank damage matters.
Sure does.
You want to do a couple listener questions here before we take off?
Yes, I want to definitely want to hear some questions, and if you have some lined up from before and also in the chat, we want to hear that for sure.
Yeah. From my Discord, I've got a few already, and then people in chat can also throw some stuff in there.
Yeah.
So first one was, how do you use WoW Sims as a tank to determine best gear upgrades?
Which item makes you do highest number?
Exactly.
Not really. I think it's difficult to use sims to sim for defensiveness because there's so many variabilities to consider. You can definitely sim 2 items and look at, okay, is my chance of death going up by 7%? My damage taken is being higher, and I'm not really getting any additional healing from the changing in the gear. Probably that's not a very good sign. That being said, if you're swapping out some gear and it makes you take 200 less damage per second, but gives you 200 more healing per second, then that becomes a little bit more difficult because then you have to account for, okay, what type of fight am I simming? How much of a issue is just physical damage mitigation on this fight? Like I can take swings from the Nefarian all day, but it's ultimately the magic damage that matters. So it doesn't really make a difference if I get some more dodge and parry, because that's inconsequential damage. But then also, okay, how is the healing received portion gained as well? Is that consequential at all, or is it just extra overhealing, or is it problems with the sim, or it's difficult. I think for defensiveness, I think it's a lot of like intuitiveness and having knowledge about the fights and what's required defensively just gets you the furthest, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing really to have to add to that is, I mean, the sim's only gonna, give you back what you put into it. So like, if you're looking, like damage happens very differently on a lot of these fights throughout even just tier 11. So just using like kind of a one size fits all approach isn't gonna be super helpful. You're gonna want to change the damage the mob you're fighting does to look at what different scenarios are gonna look like with that gear. I wouldn't just sim like one, default raid target. I think they have 210k like min damage, whatever. Um,
Mm.
just using that for as your only sim, that's a bad move. You want to play around with some different values because some bosses hit harder, some bosses are weaker. See how like the gear is going to affect you for different types of bosses. I mean, they even have like a magma preset on there, so you can
Yep.
kind of look at magma in particular. um just things like that. And then when you're adding in, like, you might be like solo tanking things, so like magma for example, maybe you're tanking magma and you're tanking ads. Make sure you have the sim set up correctly so that both mobs are targeting the main tank and not an off tank, because the way you set it up is what you're going to get out of it. So just play around with a lot of different settings, and to get a better idea of just kind of the bigger picture, and not just one very very specific rigid scenario.
Are you solo tanking on Magma now?
On 10 man, yeah. On
Oh, yeah,
25
yeah.
man, we played around with it. I'm trying to remember. So like in one of my raids, we've been doing like prop pally blood DK. So in that one, like
Mm.
prop pally doesn't have like a red off spec or anything. So there's not any value in like me solo tanking, because
No,
we just have that prop pally either way.
yeah.
Um and then in the other one, we have a feral druid. So I'm trying to get a lot more into some of the solo tank stuff, like
Mhm.
Ascendant Council, solo tanking the whole thing.
Valiona, Thralian, another one.
Yeah, so on that one, basically right now, like the main way they're having me do it is I start off the fight tanking and then I go down to the Twilight Realm solo, and I just solo the Twilight Realm the rest of the fight.
Oh, you're gonna
Um
obviously gonna need to convince them to not have you do that, so you can actually get a good parse on the fight as well.
My parses are not looking too hot. But I think we're getting close to the point where we like don't ever go down there with anybody and just
No.
like full burn. But
Do you go down
yeah.
alone or with a crew?
Yeah, I go down alone. It is just me. I just solo it.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean it's kind of fun. Like it's kind of a cool role, but I don't think it's gonna be necessary probably much longer for us. But
Yep. No. Um, yeah. I because it was pretty funny. I was obviously I've been lurking a lot in the DK Discord over the last few days. I think it's kind of there's been a bit of a ramp up in activity after they both shared both of our videos in there and a
oh,
lot of discussion. Yeah, but someone took a um, went through. I mean, obviously, a lot of people have been going through your logs lately, and
I'm a
someone
very
took your
popular guy.
logs. Yeah, yeah, obviously, around the world, as we've already established. Um, and did a spreadsheet with the week with the week before and after you switched over to Haste build, and compared
Wait,
the
wait, it was like a really slow switch though. I added like
it
a
was
little
it
bit
was
every week.
yeah, it was a pretty slow switch, but the difference was like I think 800 haste to like 1,200 haste, something like that. Um, so pretty inconsequential uh, overall, but did a spreadsheet outlining that and comparing the damage
Oh wait,
taken on the
wait, they
fights.
made a spreadsheet? Like,
Yeah, do you want me to link it to you?
if you could, yeah, that'd
I'll
be interesting.
uh,
I never imagined I'd be this popular.
yeah,
I'm
let's
just
see. I
some
think
guy.
I've linked it on Discord here. So you have a breakdown in.
Damn, that's a really nice table. They did a great job.
So not only is there a breakdown in like damage taken per second, but there's also
Yeah.
breakdowns in like the amount of healing you get and the difference between your um, damage taken to healing based on week by week and boss by boss here.
Okay, so
As
this
we
was
can.
from 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago, it looks like.
Mhm.
Doesn't include this week. Okay. Damn, this is nice. I like this. Wait, what? Death Strike offhand. What is that?
No idea. I mean, it must be for when
Just
you're
a typo
worm
or?
weaving.
Yeah, whatever we're weaving. Oh, overheal. Overheal. Okay. I
Right.
always
That
just read
that makes sense.
OH as offhand.
Yeah.
Because like on the sim they specify like main hand. So I keep seeing like MH on there. Okay, yeah, overheal. Damn, yeah, so much overhealing on DS. I mean, that's one
Yeah.
of the things like I've talked about though, is like how much overhealing actually happens, and a lot of this blood shield, like blood shield HPS you're adding through mastery is largely just, pushing other things into overhealing and not actually a gain.
Yeah.
It's been one of the biggest things I've seen.
Indeed.
But
Indeed.
I mean, it looks great. That's a beautiful table. I love it. I can
um,
appreciate good art.
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, we had a question here on the Valion and Thralion on how the other tank stays up forever. And you don't. But you can AMS the application of a stack. So you can AMS, I think, two stacks in every rotation. And then you will get sent down. So just make sure that no one else is on top of you. And then you just pop a strong defensive cooldown and take a portal out right away. You can also, if you have a feral druid in the group, you can also just ask him to go bear real quick to taunt. Um, that's a viable thing as well. But I think it's generally just better for you as a tank to just tank it while you're down there, take a portal out.
Yeah.
You won't die necessarily.
Yeah, that's
Um,
something not everybody knows, is that like the dragon downstairs is the same one as the one above. So like you just retain your threat on it, like when you go down. Just pop a wall, go to the nearest portal, and that's all you do. Yeah, and you can tank it the whole time.
yeah. Also, before we jump into the next Discord question, we also had a question of how should we anticipate DPS tier and off piece, or should we anticipate DPS tier and off piece remaining to play in Firelands? So if you look at the tanking tier in Firelands, the set bonus is a little bit caca. It's not great. And so we're probably going to be seeing another tier where we don't necessarily go for the defensive tier options. But I think the thing that we'll look at is whether or not it's better to go for the two set DPS and the two set tank, or if we want to be running just straight off pieces as well. What's your thought here?
Yeah, so I've only just started looking at this. I've pulled up like a 60 up here. This is just a first pass, like initial, just kind of look. I just wanted to get a feel for what the stats were gonna look like how much mass we were looking at having, how much haste, uh, expertise, all that stuff. It did appear that some items were missing too, so I don't think this is like a complete list. But yeah, I mean, the two piece was like kind of what I was drawn to initially. Obviously, we're gonna have to sim that, see how we're feeling about that. Two piece on the DPS one, Horn of Winter also grants 3 runic power every 5 seconds for 2 minutes.
Each.
So essentially, this is giving you 36 runic power per minute. So you get what 1.2 more rune strikes per minute.
Mm.
Pretty solid. Um, also the tank two piece is kind of awesome. It's at least it seems awesome. We'll see what the sim says about it, but melee attacks cause burning blood on your target, which deals 800 fire damage every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. Causes your abilities to behave as if you had 2 diseases present on the target. I don't know if the disease part of it has any implications. Like, I don't think it's gonna make your heart strike, uh, act as if it had 2 additional diseases on top of your regular ones. I don't think so.
No, it won't. I think the reason why they had it is because it was this tier set is obviously from before they changed Outbreak into being a 30-second cooldown.
Oh,
So
okay,
when you
got it.
had a 1 minute cooldown, you did Outbreak, and then if you had this tier, then you could skip Outbreaking again if you had a someone else bring in the Crimson Scourge, or not
Oh,
Crimson
okay.
Scourge, the 10% damage taken reduction thing.
That makes more sense because that's like a pretty specific thing to add, And I was like,
Yeah,
what are the implications actually of that?
yeah.
As far as the damage, though, like on paper, like it sounds like that'd be pretty great. Obviously, it says your melee attacks cause burning blood, so it kind of makes it seem like it's 100% proc chance. Do you know what is it
Yeah.
100% or it is?
I'm not totally sure, but I'm pretty sure that it is because the bonus is supposed to be a supplement for your diseases.
Okay.
So it would be weird if it was a chance on hit, and then it wouldn't actually fulfill the role that it's designed to do.
Mm. Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up and see if we can find out anything about it. Oh wait, that's Ignatius. That's that's actually kind of funny. It gives you like the same thing he has, burning blood. Huh. Yeah, Elementium Deathblade. Did I spell it wrong? Deep plate. Okay, here we go. Yeah, aura proc chance 100%. Let's see. Affected spells Death Strike. I wonder why that's on there.
Hmm.
It kind of seems like a relic, from when DS healing was like based on diseases on the target.
Yeah,
That's
probably. I
it's
mean, I
kind
feel
of
like there's
weird.
a lot of that stuff on Wildlife
Yeah,
with
yeah. This thing just seems insane. This seems so good.
yeah,
Um,
you're just adding 400 DPS for free, basically.
yeah. Is there anything else that would amplify this? I'm trying to think. Curse of Elements is still like 8% spell damage, right? That'd probably increase
Mm,
it,
yeah.
or that debuff type. There may be some other things too. Would be curious. It doesn't mention any scaling
Maybe
here.
I don't know. Is Scorch fire damage stacking still a thing?
I'm not sure.
Because otherwise, that would be a 15% increase fire damage as
I
well.
don't
With the
think it's a thing, but yeah. Um, yeah, but that one just kind of jumps off the page. That looks pretty great.
yeah,
Um, yeah. The I was kind of underwhelmed actually by like the stats though. Like in this, obviously missing a cloak right now, but like 1300 haste. Basically, I got 0.04 below. We can min max that later. Um, expertise soft cap, 18.71 mass. I like the big thing here is like the HP gain. It's like 200k unbuffed.
Pretty nice. Pretty
That's pretty
nice.
big, but
Yep.
it was kind of interesting to me to like look at this because I mean everything's like pretty similar to phase one. Obviously, you're gaining quite a bit of HP. That's like the big thing. Um,
Yep.
and then I mean, as far as the avoidance, like that didn't really change either. Like this is pretty much what I have now.
The avoidance
So
scaling is so bad.
it's not great. It's not great. It just seems weird though that like with all this way higher eye level gear, like normally you'd expect all your stats like going way up, but really the only noticeable difference here is like stam. That's kind of it. Kind of
Yeah.
weird. And I
I feel like
guess
that's
attack power
gonna,
as well.
yeah. I think that's gonna feel maybe a bit bad when we get to Dragon Soul, and if our raid wants us to run the tank 4 piece, because that's all. Every tank gets a increased raid damage
Mm.
reduction by the from the 4 piece, and dodge and parry for us at that point in the expansion is going to be such poor scaling that it's going to feel real bad to run that.
Yeah, I haven't actually looked at the stats on that. Is it just a lot of avoid gear?
I haven't looked into it too much, but I feel like every tier has at least a few. I mean, pretty much every piece has at least dodge or parry, and then a few select few being dodge and parry. But we'll
Oof.
have to look at the actual pieces as well.
Let's see. Yeah, what is um oh, this must be
Hmm.
the yeah, this is the DPS one.
Yep.
Wait, Sudden Doom, okay, Rhyme. Oh man, we aren't gonna get any benefit from or wait, Runic Empowerment, 25%
We can
chance.
get the mastery buff
To get
from
710 masked. Okay.
not bad, not bad.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I wonder what the uptime would look like on that. So,
If it's 12 seconds, that's big uptime. I feel like
well, so 45% chance on a, and then a 25% chance. So
it's
every time you rude
25% chance.
strike.
No, real strike.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, we'll see on that one. See, yeah, where are these tank ones? Okay, yeah, let's turn off parry dodge. 529 parry. Yeah, Vamp
Crazy.
Blood also affects party and raid members for 50% of the effect. That is kind of nuts. That's kind of nice.
Don't make me run it.
What? Yeah, right. This one's mass expertise, the shoulder. Okay.
That's nice.
That's not too bad. Okay, we got mass dodge, 3 sockets,
That seems fine.
and
But the
then
haste hit is the counterpart, so that's also pretty nice.
oh yeah. And then I mean gloves, mass hit,
That's good. That's good.
and then mass parry. So they aren't the worst. Like I'd say
No,
overall is
the
like pretty
helmet
solid.
is
You just take out the
yeah,
helm for sure. Go with this haste expertise one, but unless
yeah.
there's like some really high eye level one I didn't see. Yeah, 410 here. Yeah. Looks like that's kind of the play. Yeah. Most likely you just go with that, but I don't know. End of
And of course the
expansion, like
double.
potentially we go that 4 piece DPS. It looks kind of nice.
Of course, the double soul drinker for the worm weaving, of course.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I like how it's so weird. Autofill like always puts in like dual wield. I'm not sure why. But this Gerthalak,
Oh yeah,
I remember this tentacle being nuts. It also puts Pyrium weapon chain on too.
maybe that's the
Yeah,
tech.
that is the tech. Yeah, I mean, I haven't optimized any of this, obviously, but oh, there's some crazy trinkets in here, aren't there?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. When you deal damage, you have a chance to gain 3,300 mast. There's 775 stam.
that's gonna be some good overhealing right there.
That is going to be ridiculous over here. I mean, this is like more mass than even when I was like full mass stack, that would be like around the amount of mass I had total. It
Yeah,
was like a proc for that.
you're gonna be talking
Yeah.
250k blood shields per death strike. Gonna feel pretty good.
Also, without like some gems missing and everything, we're looking at like 243k unbuffed HP. Oh
Air
man.
scaling in Dragon Soul was pretty nutty. You'll see that in
Yeah.
the damage meters for sure as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely gotta play around with this set a bit, but it's gonna get fun for sure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Let's see. We had some more questions.
Yeah.
What have been some surprises this tier based on what you had expected with regard to tanking or just rating in general, other than the hastening?
The Great Hastening.
The great hastening. Honestly, this has been like one of the most fun, just like arcs, I think, in all of Classic for me.
Hmm.
Like, it's just been like so silly and fun, and I've loved it. There, we've got some like haste emotes in my Discord and stuff now, and it's I love the whole like hasted versus unhasted controversy, and man, it's just fun to be a part of.
Yep. Yeah, I bet. I bet. I saw you come in and leave a little comment in the BK Discord as well. It was
Yeah,
good
hey
fun.
guys, is haste good? Um, yeah,
um, but yeah, unexpected things. I think for me, I did some PTR stuff or beta stuff, I suppose, and we only managed to get together like a 10-man group, and I was initially a bit um, shocked at how low the damage intake was. Like already on the beta during Prague, I was like, "Screw this! I'm putting on a license to slay, and I'm doing whatever. You know, this is damage is so inconsequential." But I assumed that that would not be the case for 25 minutes as well. But I think the biggest surprise has been how inconsequential tank damage has been, which is a bit of a bummer because it's kind of fun. While it's definitely fun to optimize for damage as well, it's also fun to um, be one of those tanks where when you play with them, you just like, holy shit, something feels really good here. I don't know what they're doing, but goddamn, does it feel good to heal this guy, or the tank that never dies or whatever. Um, I think there's a lot of optimization to be done for that type of stuff in Cataclysm as well, like your Death Strike usage and how you use externals and stuff like that. But I feel like it's the incoming damage part has been very underwhelming this tier, which was a big surprise for me.
yeah, that's I guess been one of my biggest surprises with like the whole haste thing is kind of the fixation people have with mastery. Obviously, I
Mm.
think mastery is like a pretty bad play for all the reasons I mentioned before, but like aside from those reasons, it's just like the damage intake.
Yeah,
Like there's no reason you'd ever min max your uh survivability this phase just because
yeah,
damage intake is so low. So that's been kind of weird to me.
yeah. At least we swapped away from the full mast gem uh, and trinkets maxing. Because that, I mean, that was the way people
Hmm.
play on private servers and stuff like that. And um, I think it's at least we're going stamina for the majority. Like that's our biggest prio. But yeah, I think still the fixation with mastery is a bit too much at the moment.
Also, I guess another part of it too for me is like this stam versus mass like debate is basically the same thing as like the haste versus mass debate to me. Like you get, you know, similar amounts of healing going from like stem to mass just because of how many, min DSs you get. But
Hmm.
it's the same thing with haste. So I was a little surprised by like kind of the resistance like haste specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest allure with stamina is, well, partly that it's a bit of a offensive stat as well. You get just a little bit of extra vengeance for free. But that a lot of the mechanics that are dangerous in this tier aren't necessarily going to be solved by stacking mastery. So like if you're thinking crackle and breath combo on the Farian, having more mastery there is not going to help you one bit, but having a higher HP pool to negate the damage and being, having the chance of not being one shot, that actually has a meaningful difference. So I think it's just the that part, along with that stamina is a tank stat, historically compared to haste, just makes it much more palatable to accept than
Okay.
being like, haste is the way to go. Like, huh?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Haste is a DPS stat.
Yeah. That actually makes more sense than anything I've heard. Just like the historical tie to Stam being the tank stat. Because at the end of the day, to me, it seems to be like basically the exact same like value trade you're doing, but other people don't seem to see it the same way.
No.
So let's see. Do you see? Oh, actually, I guess let's see. Are there any other surprises? I kind of like just glossed over though. Yeah, I mean the damage intake's like the biggest one. Um, Honestly, I feel like this. I wasn't sure what to expect from this tier because back in the day, I never completed this tier.
Okay.
I did like a few heroics back in OG Cata.
Yeah.
Never. I did like limited like private server stuff. So this was all like pre-fresh stuff for me. I guess
Hey,
the
you can't use that word without the trigger warning first. You can't just go and whip around the word fresh without.
yeah. This is the classic audience. Uh, um, yeah, just I guess the biggest surprise to me was just maybe like how well the content held up, even with like some of the nerfs. And
Yeah,
I
for
felt
sure.
like this was like kind of the perfect difficulty curve. Like
Yeah.
if you looked at the pulls per kill counts and just general kill counts,
Hmm.
just kind of the graph for it, I thought was kind of perfect. Obviously, the kill count, it's like kind of a slope like that. The pull to kill count, kind of a slope like that.
Yeah.
Um, to me, that was perfect. There wasn't really a point where it wasn't like flat and then it just spikes up to way higher difficulty. It
Like
seems,
ICC.
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Like ICC would be small and then way up
mhm.
for HOK. But I guess that was like one of the surprises for me is just how well tuned I guess this tier is. Like
Mhm.
it's pretty much a perfect difficulty curve. I think basically what every tier should kind of strive to be. Just there's no real like wall boss. You just get this
Yeah.
gradual difficulty increase as you go.
I think it was great. I think that maybe I would have preferred it to be a little bit more difficult, but that's, you know, coming from someone who is rating a little bit more of the in the high end range of people. Um, but I think for like an overall difficulty, it was great. It was great. And maybe, I mean, I think we'll see this maybe more in Firelands, but I don't actually mind the big like wall necessarily at the end boss. Like like really just like pushing for the kill on like Lich King 0% stuff like that. I think that's really fun. So I definitely don't mind that. I think maybe we'll see a bit of that with Firelance, if Rag heroic tuning is as difficult as it was back in the days.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, like selfishly, I do love those like harder difficulty bosses for sure. It's
Yeah,
just after seeing what like 0% HLK did to like the Wrath community,
yeah, that's
like
fair.
it just kind of gutted the community because people didn't want to spend 100, 200, whatever polls like on a classic boss. To me, I mean, I love bosses like that. Like, I should probably do mythic rating because, like, doing a boss 200 pulls or whatever, like, I'm down for that. That's fun to me.
200
But
on the low end.
yeah, exactly. Um, and so, but just like seeing what it did to the community. I mean, Sod kind of released a perfect time to like kind of kill Wrath too, because
Yeah.
that was a point where a lot of people had seen all or most of ICC. What most people had left in ICC, if they hadn't cleared it, was 0% HOK. They just kept wiping over and over again. The wrong person, their raid got to file, they wiped.
Yeah.
It feels
Classic.
bad.
Yeah.
There were just certain names when you saw, defile on X. When you saw that pop up, you're like, all right, it's a wipe.
Okay, I'm gonna move away.
Yeah. So yeah, just like, yeah, to me, it's just like the fact that the community can't quite handle things that are on that HOK level overall. And then a lot of people quit, and then you have way less people to play with. The like Wrath felt really, really stagnant. Like toward the end, you're running around Dalaran, you see like three other people. Like it just felt bad. So
Yeah. But I
from
think the ICC patch
it
was way
was
too long as well.
way too long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of insane. I mean, they basically treated Ruby Sanctum as an entire phase, even though it had one boss, which was like bizarre. Like their typical classic phase length is 16 to 20 weeks. And they're like, yep, this is a phase. This is going to
This
be
is it.
16 to 20 weeks. And
Yeah.
it ended up being, I think, 16, right? Because it came out in January and then Cata released toward the end of May. So yeah. Yeah, that was a weird choice. That was a really weird choice. But
Indeed. Indeed. I also wanted to get your perspective on, since you've done both 10 and 25. I have two, and we had a little comment here. Brad Wilton saying that just do 10 man if you want more difficult. And what's your perspective on that? I'm not necessarily sure that I agree, but I want to hear your take.
yeah, so with the caveat, like my 10-man group is really solid. But I am rating with one of the better guilds in the world for my 25-man. So
Right.
there is a little bit of a difference, between the two raids that I am doing. But we do
Mhm.
have a very solid 10-man, but our 25-man is just kind of on a different level than the 10-man I'm running with.
Yeah.
But I mean, that said, they feel pretty similar to me
Mm.
overall. Like there's a couple instances where like Sinestro on 10 man definitely felt
Yeah.
a bit harder than on 25, for
Yeah.
sure. Outside of that though, everything feels pretty much the same to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I hear this comment over and over again, like 10 is so much harder, and I'm like, it's not really my experience. Like a lot of
Mm.
things seem easier on 10 man, but largely I would say overall they feel about the same difficulty.
Yeah. I think they're overall pretty similar. I think the first five bosses in well, I think all of Blackwing Descent is easier on 10 man. Um, the first five just kind of fall over. I remember doing it in some like weird random pug on my warrior with a super bad comp, and then we had a blood DK who was like really weirdly statted and stuff like that, and I have no hopes for this raid.
Full
But
haste, full haste.
not that weird, obviously. He's a tank. What the hell? Tanks should just take damage. But we did 5 out of 6 like it was nothing, and then I went with the guild later on the next week, and doing the Farian felt really easy on 10 man compared to 25 man, especially with only the 4 or 5 ads up. Like that felt super easy. That was never really an issue. The crackle doesn't do as much, even if you don't have as many things to answer with as you do in a 25 man. Like you will usually have like barrier, and you'll have AMZs and stuff like that. The only fight, and not talk about Alakir. Alakir is so easy on 10 man, because you have so many. You can spread around so much and not have to worry about stacking up and staying in the lightning and stuff like that. But yeah, the one fight I will say that I think is significantly more difficult is I'm actually not gonna say significantly, because there are a few timings that makes it easier in some aspects, but Sinestra getting like double cutter on a healer that's painful. You don't have as many tools to deal with the breath, and when you have the wreck going on at the same time, it can be pretty damn deadly. And yeah, Sinestra definitely more difficult than 10 man, but I think that the 25 man overall is maybe slightly more difficult, even at least in my experience. But maybe that's just because I've been doing. We were doing so much prog in like all the 3 46 blue item level gear, that it may skewed things a bit for me. But
yeah, overall, yeah, I feel like they're really similar. So yeah, I'm not really sure where the whole like 10 minutes way harder comes from. Bread also mentioned they wiped for 3 days on Cameron because tanks have no externals. Cameron hits like a lot weaker though. Like
yep.
the externals shouldn't really be an issue. Yeah, something was just going wrong there, Bread. I'm not exactly sure, but Cameron should be a pretty easy one.
Time to get better tanks, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like they weren't doing something right there. Do you see DKs keeping their position on the tanking hierarchy through tier 11 or tier 12 and 13?
Yep. I have a hard time seeing anything but in the coming tiers. Like the other tanks are definitely going to be more. They're definitely going to be stronger in comparison to the Bloody K. The gap is, I think, the widest it's ever going to be right now.
Yeah.
That being said, even with CTC cap on the block tags, and all of the mitigation tools, like I think both Prot Paladin and Prot Warrior in the later tiers are going to be very good at the the damage, the incoming damage part, and they're going to be taking less damage overall than a Blood DK. That being said, they're still going to need healing, and just by that fact alone, they're worse. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I think that sums it up pretty well. Yeah, the gap's gonna close, but DK is still gonna be on top. I am really looking forward to playing Prot, Pally, and I guess Prot Warrior as well with hit cap and expertise soft cap and CTC cap, because man, dude, on Pally, have you been playing Pally? I can't remember.
No, I'm level 84, so
okay, soon.
So,
So you may have already experienced it, but the single most annoying thing on Prot Valley is when you're trying to
Mm,
pick up a lot of mobs, you hammer of the righteous and it misses or it gets dodge parried, whatever. Because when it misses, it doesn't do the AoE effect. If the
yeah.
initial attack misses, nothing happens at all. So it's like the biggest swing ever because you go from the potential of having threat on everything around you to having threat on nothing.
Yep.
And it feels awful. Obviously, a lot of your role is, tanking ads in many of these fights. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm gonna be going, I think, for hit cap and expertise soft cap and just being a little bit below full
Screw
CTC
it.
for most of this phase because
Yeah.
like it, it if you have a 500% threat modifier, it doesn't mean anything if your attack doesn't even land. You just did 0% threat. So
The only difference is if if one attack hits but the next four don't, then you're golden due to that 500% modifier.
yeah, that's the flip side. But I mean, when you have like 0% hit, zero, or I mean, a lot of times you'll have at least, 10 expertise on prop A,
Yeah.
I guess. Actually, it
At
might be
least.
more. I can't remember if they still have the talent for 6 or not, the
Yeah.
passive, but
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, they used to have the 6. I can't remember if they baked that in or not, but in any
Yeah.
case, when you're playing with low expertise or low expertise, low hit, man, it feels bad. Just the amount of times I miss my attacks in a raid, it seems unreal. Like it seems like there's no way it should happen, and it's constant. So I don't know. I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna give up a little bit of CTC, get the hit cap, get the expertise soft cap because it does not feel good to play right now. So I'm looking forward to that in future phases.
Yeah, I'm not going all the way hit and expertise on the warrior right now, but I am definitely not disregarding it completely because it feels really bad to be like, zero hit, zero expertise. And then uh, people think that warrior suck because you miss, uh,
Yeah.
your opener. And like, how do you lose threat?
Mm-hmm.
We need a bloody cane here stat.
Yep.
Um,
I've heard that said like so many times actually. Like when we're using like third tank on Neff or whatever, and it's like a prot
mm,
warrior. And like they just miss like the first like two things in their opener and somebody rips and they're like, what the fuck? What is happening? Like
yeah,
everybody's like losing their minds, and it's like, yeah, I mean that's one of the pluses of Blood Decay. You have so much survivability just innately that you can
yeah,
afford to get hit cap, expertise, soft cap. Like it doesn't matter. Some of it even helps you defensively with like,
yeah,
rune strikes and outbreak not missing, things like that. But
yeah.
yeah, it's man, Bloody Decay is fun as hell. I'm very
It
happy
is.
on my Bloody Decay.
It is fun. I agree with that. And luckily, we're in a position where it's actually a fun spec to play, and where the busted tank is not something that feels horrible, but just is numerically strong.
Yeah, like I mean, we had the same thing in Wrath too. At least in my opinion, I really liked Prop Valley in Wrath, but yeah, it's nice. Bloody K being super fun too, and I've been doing a lot of like the solo stuff, like the old raid solos, and they're just the
Mm.
best at that too. And so that's just kind of a super fun way to like use the gear you get in the raid on other things in the game. So
Yeah, but you were saying that you were running expertise on Paladin through the glyph, right? Because you have
yeah.
Seal of Vengeance. But I mean, I thought we were in agreement that you shouldn't be getting any like doing damage to tank. So you should probably switch that over to Seal of Insight for the extra healing.
Yeah, I've been totally misplaying it. I gotta lower my
Oh,
tank damage a little bit. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's okay. We're all kind of have to start from somewhere, right? So
yeah.
yeah.
I was under this weird impression that like my damage mattered, but I forgot there's like this hidden component
No.
where tank damage is worth way less than damage from a DPS. I wasn't
Yeah. That's right.
considering that. I didn't realize like
Yeah.
1000 tank DPS actually is only worth like 10 real DPS. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
that's something I
it's
gotta look
it's
at.
it's the same thing as, like, would you what weighs more? A pound of feathers or a pound of lead? And obviously, the lead weighs
I
more.
mean, obviously it's lead. Come
Obviously.
on. Yeah. I mean,
Anywho,
I'm definitely enjoyed the pally. It's kind of a nice change of pace, but oh my god, I can't tell you how many times in a raid, like I'm at 3 holy power, I press Shield of Righteousness, it misses. I press it
mm,
again, it misses. I press it again, it misses. It's like
at
it
least it
seems
doesn't consume the holy power.
it doesn't, but like just the fact that I want a nice like flowy rotation and getting stuck there at 3 holy power, just spamming my finisher over and over and
Yeah,
it never landing. God, it feels awful.
yeah, it does.
Um,
Sure it does.
yeah, let's see what else we got. Where will the diminishing returns become noticeable for haste? In later phases, much higher haste rating will be possible. When or what will be the hard cap? So this I'm not sure of. This is still something I'm playing
I don't
around
know.
with, and as we talked about earlier, there's some problems with the sim right now that don't make this totally possible to look at. But I mean, Sims in beta, they're doing great work on it. I'm sure
Yep.
it'll be getting fixed very quickly.
And
Um,
like
yeah,
one thing to keep in mind with haste as well is that the haste is not necessarily hard capped at when every global is filled, because you can also get more value from haste, well, just passively from like all of your other talents and stuff like that, that amplifies your damage, but also if you have enough haste to always be able to leave one blood rune on cooldown or off cooldown while filling the rest of your globals, then you're just going to be innately pumping out more death runes, which is going to be more beneficial both from a DPS and the healing perspective. So it's going to take a lot to get to that level of haste. And I don't know if that's ever a real possibility to actually reach. And I'm not totally sure about diminishing return values and stuff like that, how that's going to play out. But
yeah.
yeah.
So I've been playing a lot with like 7.3 to 7.5 haste, and I have noticed times where I just like can't use GCDs like quick enough. Like I have too much, runic power I need to get through. Also, runes coming up.
Mm,
A lot of it has to do with when you get really lucky on runic
yeah.
empowerment. You're getting extra runes. You're getting GCDs you wouldn't always be getting.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean it's all anecdotal at this point, but um, I I've definitely noticed sometimes where I just kind of get GCD capped,
Yeah.
which, as Riani mentioned, isn't the end of the world. Like you still do gain value past that, but um, whether or not it's like enough value, I think it's probably still worth going lower. Factoring in what I said earlier about mass with like a lot of its healing, just pushing other things into overhealing. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, remains to be seen. But I would expect this sim will be significantly updated by the time we get to Firelands. I mean, it's coming out
Mm,
October, they had planned. So by the
yeah.
time we get there, I'm sure we'll have a much more updated sim and we'll be able to start kind of answering these questions.
Yep. Indeed. Indeed.
Any advice for reforging? I mean, this is kind of pretty
I,
general.
I will say that I was tuning into your stream right before we got started, and I was seeing
Mhm.
you on the Reforge guy, and I didn't see a Reforge Lite window popped up, and oof, hurts my
Man,
hurts my soul.
I,
Uh,
I'm gonna be real honest. It's one of my favorite mini games in WoW. It's just like this little puzzle of like trying to find like the perfect way to like reforge everything. I
Hmm.
just get this like sick satisfaction from it. Like like I've been doing it so much. A lot of the time I can just kind of eyeball it. I'm like, okay, I'm at like, 7.47 hit.
Hmm.
I would need about like 60 hit rating. Okay, boom. We find something that gives like 60. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I just enjoy it. Like that's like the weird like answer to it though, is like I just have fun like putting that puzzle together. I know obviously it's far more efficient to use Reforge Lite, and I would save
Yeah,
a lot of
I
time
will
doing
say,
it.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I will say that refresh light is not always perfect, um, because you could gain a lot more stats, or you could gain more stats from tinkering around yourself with it. Because let's say that you generally want to go, okay, let's put at least hit cap, at least expertise cap, then let's put uh, one value over another. So let's say like haste over mastery,
Whoa, wait,
and
what?
then
That's kind of
let's
irresponsible.
let's
Hold
say
up, wait, are you
it's a
recommending haste over mastery, Rioni?
hypothetically. God.
Okay. Man, I don't know. The Discord's not gonna like that one.
Definitely not. It's hypothetical, of course. Um, let's hypothetically put crit over dodge, okay? And we and then it's gonna calculate. One second. Um, it's gonna calculate the hit and expertise and try to get them as close to 8 as possible. Or 8 hits and 26 expertise, and then it's gonna start going into the other stats. But sometimes the way you get the closest to 8 hit and 26 expertise is by reforging one of the other hits and expertise stats into the other one. And that's not always the best way to optimize how much of the other stats you get out of it. But generally, I think you get 95% there, 99% maybe, by simply going check on hit and expertise, and then putting your preferred value in the highest column, and then the second highest preferred value in the second column, and then uh, looking over your gear afterwards as well. So if you for some reason wanted to reforge haste up to a value of 1450, and your reforged light puts it at 1550, then you can go back and fine tune it to maybe take some of that off and put it into something you prefer, like mastery or crit.
Crit 100%.
Hmm.
um Yeah, those are great tips. If I can ever, give up my weird love of doing this reforged puzzle, I will take that into account.
Of course, of course.
Um, Lucas says it doesn't take into account enchants. Is that true?
Ooh, no idea. I don't think so. I have hits on braces, I think, and it doesn't put me over hits like anywhere over 8% if I use the Reforge Light. So, not sure. I don't think so.
Okay. Let's see. The final question I have here is, what's the best way to prepare for T12 now?
Um, get gold. A lot of BOEs gonna be dropping in the raid, and it's very very trash friendly. Not like BWD where you can only like kill a few mobs in order to farm trash, but there will be a lot of trash in T12, and a lot of people are going to be farming it, not only to sell BOEs, but also because he gets the reputation from trash up till, I think it's up until revered, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe honored and something, and then some into honored. I can't remember. But so you're definitely gonna need some gold to pick up some gear. I think if I'm not mistaken, the stamina trinket is BOE, scales of life or whatever it's called.
Oh,
Could
really?
be wrong though.
I
I could be
yeah.
mistaken.
Let me check real quick.
Or no, I think it's maybe the strength. There's a strength trinket that's
Yeah, the
BOE.
skills are BOP 391. I assume there's nothing 391 that's BOE, right? Or is there?
No.
Okay. You said
Maybe a little. Maybe I think actually the crossfire carbine or whatever it's called. I think
the
that
normal
one
scales of
is
life.
391. Oh yeah, yeah, it
The
is.
normal scales of life is BOE. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That one, and then
the carbine. Oh man, I have actually. Have you seen one of those drop, the 372 ones?
no. I think it
Yeah.
was only on NA that it's dropped. Like,
Oh really?
yeah.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, that's really interesting that one of these that seems to be the only like BOE trinket at least I can find for tank.
The apparatus on normal is also BOE, I think.
Oh yeah. So maybe just all the normal trinkets are BOE.
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
sure, but you can get some fat haste with that one now.
Yeah, wait, I didn't even look. What is it? Oh. Okay. Consume all Titanic power to increase your crit, haste, or mass by 508 per Titanic power accumulated. Whoa.
2.5k
Stacks
haste
up
is
to
gonna be
5
some.
times?
Yeah, it's gonna be some
Yeah,
a fat
wait a
ghoul you can
second.
snapshot with.
Whoa. Yeah, that's kind of awesome.
Mhm.
Any other like BOEs off the top of your head other than like trinkets?
Valor points. Or is it bracers or boots, something like that? You're gonna be able to buy a
Oh
gold,
yeah.
so you can use your own valor points to something more.
Gigantiform.
Yeah, there we go. And it's mastery
So
hit, so pretty solid value from those.
yeah. I mean, I assume
It's,
by this point a lot of people will have the Sinestro ones.
yeah,
Since I mean, I think a decent amount of like raids are already have like so many that the DPS don't even need them anymore. But
if only in my raid, but
yeah, we got some pretty good luck. But yeah, I mean, 4 months from now or whatever, yeah, we're
yeah, I'll
eh,
definitely have them.
yeah,
Yeah, but I think that
definitely good to know about them.
yeah, I'm not sure if these are better or worse than the. I think probably the Sinestro ones are better for DK, but if you're like wanting to pick up some gear for your
Hmm.
Pally or your warrior, then those are definitely very nice to have.
Yeah, definitely.
And of course, you're gonna need to prepare, like putting in your request for time off, because obviously you're gonna be right in at launch, pumping trash before it's time to go in with your guild to do the clear. Um, and obviously getting full biz now. Maybe picking up some second, like tier pieces that no one needs, so you can maybe maybe the tank buster boss belt deck or something like that. Maybe you will need the 4 set from 211 for defensive purposes on him. So just being prepared in case you need more defensiveness, to have that tier available as well, and some defensive options as well.
Yeah. One
Yeah.
thing too, with like the trash farm, as someone who previously was in, a bit more casual guild, we weren't, you know, able to get the whole raid there right at 3 p.m. and like
Yep.
go in. One thing you can do, if you are gonna like raid later that day or in one of the following days, yeah, when you're trash farming, just do that right before your raid.
Mhm.
Clear all that trash, and then when it's actually raid time, all that trash is already cleared. You've spawned what's his name?
The dog boss.
Shanox? Is it Shanox? I can't
Yeah, I think
remember.
so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So by the time it's actually time to raid, like you've trash farmed and you've, cleared up to all the bosses. So when your raid zone's in, they can just start doing bosses. Because a lot of guilds, they just don't have a lot of time to like prog things week one. If you can
Yeah.
save some time by just doing a trash farm with whoever you got, and lead that into raid time, and then everybody just zones in, starts progging bosses, don't have to waste time doing trash. That we found that helped a lot when we were doing a little more casual stuff. So
Yeah.
just a little time saver to help you out.
I wonder if that's a net gain, considering all of the casual people who I'm sure haven't been in the raid farming some trash before, losing out on all that rep up until the bosses. Um,
Ooh,
and maybe not clearing the trash is the play, so you can actually get them to get some rep because they're lazy.
it could be. It could be.
Yeah.
And I mean, another obvious one is just kind of, get reps on either private server or PTR when the raid testing becomes available. That's just always going to be the best thing you can do. Uh,
Yeah, I mean the best thing you can do to kill the bosses faster. Not saying it's the best thing you can do to enjoy the raid more. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt.
yeah. It depends on the player, right? It's like before I could definitely enjoy, taking the slower, prog approach and just kind of working through it with my guild at their own pace and everything. Now, personally, I'm like a lot more interested in just getting in there, getting it done ASAP. But yeah, everybody enjoys the game a different way. So yeah, whatever works for you.
True, 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 true. But I guess if you're someone who asks what they can do to prep, then probably you're someone who wants to, you know,
Probably looking to prep, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
uh,
um,
but yeah, I think PTR sessions are a lot better than private servers for getting a good gauge of how to approach the mechanics, because there's nothing
Definitely.
worse than, I mean, you can head into a raid and on private servers and clear and build strat, and then the actual live prod doesn't turn out anything like that, and then
Yeah.
you have to reimagine
Uh,
your strats and all that.
yeah, we did like really limited like P server testing, but one of the ones we did was, like heroic magma, and it felt like we had done it with training weights on, and then when we went into like the
Mm.
PTR version, it was
Oh
so
yeah,
much easier than the P server
that's
one.
fair. That's fair.
Like we just like breezed through it really quick. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, P server is basically like your super early way to, take a look at these fights. And then once PTR is available, yeah, absolutely. You don't worry about P server after that. You just
Yeah.
you do just PTR, because you're gonna see exactly what the Blizzard version's gonna look like.
Yep. Indeed. Indeed.
All right. I mean, that is those are all the questions I had lined up. Man, we went for almost 4 hours. That was crazy.
Oh.
We should wrap it up here. Yeah, you getting a little sore over there. I'm seeing.
I moved all my rig out into the living room, so I'm not using my
Yeah,
my ergonomical
yeah,
gaming chair.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
time to get some breakfast and whatnot. But yeah,
Absolutely.
should probably wrap it up. The
Hmm.
only other question that I saw in the chat as well was that hit cap is a must, but expertise not as crucial. And yeah, that's true. But I would every day of the week prioritize expertise over every other secondary stat that you can go for. Both from a damage perspective and also it has that defensive aspect as well of getting some extra runic power and whatnot.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I mean, it's always a pleasure, Riani. Thanks for
Always.
the chat. Every time we talk, I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll probably talk for like an hour and a half or so, and then like 3-4 hours later, here we are.
Yeah,
But
just shooting shit. Blood cake buds. Good, we
the
didn't have to wait
blood caked buds.
for 9 weeks for this one.
Yeah, right.
Of course, looking
Got a
forward
little bit
to
of
episode 19 or whatever it is for
yeah,
the
yeah.
next time on
Yeah, we still gotta
the pod.
get you in with like the glasses and the mustache and
Of
everything. Just
course, of course.
uh,
Yeah.
pretending your name can be like Riani backwards, whatever that ends up being. And
Just have to make sure that it's not a
yeah,
slur or something. I don't
yeah, exactly.
know.
Yep. All right, man. It's always awesome talking to you.
Yeah,
Always fun.
indeed. I agree. And I think I've been on here enough times that I don't need to necessarily plug my stuff. But if you want to come and check out my guide stuff, my tank stuff, come on over to Riani on YouTube. And I have next week I'm gonna be starting to. I've actually rented a office here in the city, so I'm gonna be moving my rig out there and
Okay.
potentially, dip my feet into streaming a little bit too. So if you want to be, I currently have a Twitch channel, Riani TV, with 0 followers. So if you want to be the first one in there, the first follower, then now is the time to to do that. If you can find
Yeah,
me,
I'm
I
trying
haven't
to
set it
get
up or
there. Oh
anything.
wait, I put
Just
too
the
many
name is
B's.
there.
Oh no, what I click? Dude, I'm a mess right now. I'm trying to get there. Boom, we
Oh
got
no!
it.
Oh no!
Did I get locked in?
Did we get it?
That's it, right? Riani TV.
Yeah, that's it.
Wait, Dolan's
Oh,
saying he got it first. I don't
oh
know.
no!
We
Oh
gotta play
no!
back the tape. Play back the tape.
Run it back! Run it back!
All right, guys. Yeah, Riani TV right here. Make sure you follow. Um, when you do this, what's kind of your plan? Just streaming raids or doing
Um,
other stuff?
we'll definitely be doing other stuff. I am still working out kind of what I want it to be, but it's definitely not only gonna be raids. And my plan is for it to be very active and interactive. I mean, yeah. So I want a lot of like discussion and participation and doing like a little bit of events typey stuff and um definitely more than just having a cam on while gaming. So it'll be a good time. Have some ideas and hoping to set that up within the next few weeks. Have that live and going. That'd be cool.
All right, awesome, dude. Awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too. Me too.
do you know like approximately like what times you would be streaming?
It. I'm thinking it'll probably be pretty, like early EU times. So talking about like, maybe 9 to 10 a.m., starting something like that. So by the time you go to bed.
That I mean, that's
um,
perfect timing. That means when I finish, I can raid you. Send everybody your way.
hey, that's perfect. That's perfect.
So yeah, start time would be kind of like when we started today, I guess. Then or
Probably
around
maybe
there,
slightly later, depending
a little
on
bit later.
what kind
Okay,
of rhythm I get my sleeping habits in and whatnot.
sure.
But and then probably going until late afternoon type of something like that. And then on raid nights, we'll be doing that as well for sure. Get to see some Blood DK action and some Prot Warrior action and hopefully not too much Guardian Druid action as well.
Not a fan of the Guardian.
Maybe I just haven't put enough sweat into it to actually feel like I'm getting a lot out of it, but currently not a big fan of.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah, make sure you follow Riani TV. I think it's 50 followers. You can get affiliate, and then you can get like the sub button and everything. So let's see if we
really?
can.
Okay.
And there's some other like really minor requirements, but usually like the 50 followers is like kind of the hardest part to get. It's not too difficult, but yeah. So make sure you guys go follow
I'm gonna need
Riani.
to make a lot of accounts then.
Yeah. No, we got you covered. I bet in chat right now we got 50 already.
I see we got at least 2 with you and Dolan.
Oh my god. I know it's gonna be way higher than that. Just gotta refresh it. It'll go up. Yeah, but, make sure you check him out on YouTube, Twitch. I'm really excited to see where you get this going. That's gonna be like my little late night wind down is check out the Riani stream. Yeah, it should be fun. But yeah, thank you as always, dude. It is always so good to talk to you.
You too.
But yeah, I will see you later.
Yeah, see ya.